you sit there and you want to kick and scream and cry that nobody's in your show, nobody's buying from you, then you're not making any money. I throw out an offer on a book that's just sitting on the table, you haven't put a fucking price on, and you want to sit there and say, oh, you're a fucking asshole for fucking quoting me a price or offering a price. You're insane. You're insulting me. Oh, I'm fucking offering you the damn price that
I'm trying to buy a book.
not only that book is sold for this year multiple times, but the grade above it is actually sold for less than what I offered, and the next two grades above it have sold for the price I'm offering. So
Like
I'm
where I
being
was at with this,
generous.
like the like in my mind, like instead of like the long explanation of no, just like
Right. Just say
counter
no.
offer, counter offer. Like
Or say, you know what?
you know what
Hey,
I'm
that's
saying?
not
Like
how I do this.
if your goal is to sell the book instead of no and going off on an explanation that's not selling any books, is just taking up time. Just be like, how about we started at blah? You know, just literally just say, no, that I'll sell that for this price. Just say the price at that point. You know what I mean? Like whether it's high, low, in the middle, none of that matters. But like, shouldn't that be the response? Like 100 for that? No, I'm starting that one off at 175. I need 175 for that. You know what I'm saying? Like at
Right.
least throw that, at least say the number. Like
Something.
what if you or anyone else in the world that was there at the time was willing to pay the number that he wanted? Like despite it being high because it's a consignment book or whatever, no one still
Which
knew how much the book cost.
even if it's a consignment book, his job as a consignee is to set the expectations with the consignor of what the market pricing is on a book,
I
not to
mean,
come to
we can say that, but like even look at like professional sites like uh what's the one that you use a lot?
short box.
Yeah, so like they don't tell their consignees anything, but they warn their buyers with the little color boxes.
Well, look,
Like if a
yeah,
consigned book or somebody's book goes on that app for over FMV, there's like a yellow cautionary thing.
sure,
If it's significantly above FMV, there's a red stop sign next to the book. Like there's no way it's going to sell. That's just,
right.
of course, there's exceptions to that rule, but that's
You
pretty
can
funny how
the
their
consignee and
platform
stuff.
does that.
Well, they do that because they're trying to level the playing field for everybody, make sure everybody's informed, and that as
Yeah,
you as a seller, if you have lots of books up there, that you can quickly, looking at your inventory, identify market changes on a book, if whether or not your book is still market competitive, and you can then adjust that, um, or you can take the book down. If no, I'm not willing to go down to that, what market is now, I can take it down type thing. But I mean, to sit there and the expectation being that just because it's a consignee book that other people need to pay above market price. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, he had that first solo flash that he put up, right, and he wanted
1250
1200.
start.
He wanted 1250 start. Well, that grade and the grade above it had sold recently for less than $1,200,
Yeah,
and
well, I looked on eBay. There was one sitting there for like 12.99 asking. I think that's what he was going
yeah,
off
so
of.
he's looking at asking prices, which we all know is you don't go to eBay looking at, oh well, people are asking $5,000 for this book, therefore I'm going to start it at 4,000. Well, but the book last sold for $200.
Yeah, and it was like that with a couple of them. Like when you pulled that 1950s Ghost Rider, I'm like, I looked at
Oh, he's
finance.
always high on that shit.
Yeah, but I looked at finances. I'm like, I can buy that. Let me see if I want to move X, Y, or Z over because I would love to have that book. You know,
Hmm.
like that would be that's a get it when you see it kind of book kind of thing right there. But like an FMV on it's like between 7 to 8. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and he asked the same thing. It was 1250 asking. So I don't know how much he has into it or the story with it. And, you know, every book is different. But there should be no expectation to be able to move it easily if you're going to set high expectations as a seller on a book. Like I have high expectations for this book, so I might sit on it for a while. You gotta be okay with
That's
that.
fine. And he seems, because I've seen that book multiple times, but then at the same time you sit there and you go, bitch, you guys aren't buying. I'm putting shit up too high, but fuck you because you're not spending my money. You're not spending money on stuff that you may not want. He's got the assumption that everybody's a flipper, and therefore you should just buy
Yeah,
stuff. You should just buy everything because it's a good. I think it's a good price, regardless of whether or not it's actually something you want.
yeah.
Uh, and
Well,
and then
that's what he like when his shows move fast. That's what it is. It's like other sellers on other platforms that
right,
come in and just getting inventory from him.
right, and
But
then
like
that's
this is like him trying out Instagram, so there's not a crowd.
which is
No
awful.
one's used to it.
Well, he
Yeah,
hasn't had a crowd on YouTube either in a while. It's been 20 views, is like his peak. And
yeah.
he did a Facebook one the other day that was not great. And the Instagram is awful. I don't understand why there's so many live sales on Instagram because other than that maybe a lot of people see you live and might just hop in real quick. But
Or
man, it's a
they might just
horrible
be where their biggest followers are. I've got more followers here on YouTube than I do on Instagram. So if I wanted to try to do something, I would assume that YouTube would be the place to do it, at least in the beginning for sure. But yeah, and we know just from being on platforms in this day and age, because I think like a lot of the like he was talking about like the oversaturation of sellers in the market, and I
that's
was
BS
on
for
that.
him too. Look, there are a lot of sellers. I get that. But at the same time, that's not why he's drawing only 14 fucking viewers and
No,
two buyers.
I was about to say he was making that distinction of like the back in the day, in the early days of Facebook Live, and then when other sellers came in and like and regardless of Pete, there's a flooded market of sellers. There is, but there's so many platforms. Like you go to Whatnot, and there's an unlimited supply of comic sellers at any time of day. You go to Instagram, and there's always somebody selling something. YouTube, I don't think as many people are on YouTube as they used to because of the legwork that goes into getting paid.
Hmm.
You know, you have to sell on YouTube, contact people on other platforms, whether it be Facebook or Instagram, to talk to them to get payment, wait on payment, and all that. But it's just really one of those things. It's kind of a common sense solution. You have to stick to where you're going to be, stick to a schedule, and work for an audience. And that's I think a lot of people, like we talked about, are getting ran off by just insulting your buyers.
Well, that's it. It's like, look, you're not getting new people. If like last night, every time somebody new joined, he just freaking started attacking them, and it's like, dude, why are you ripping? I don't care. Forget whatever past issues you might have had with Mark Spector or freaking uh, Scott from Hoarder's Hide or whatever. These are people who are there. They might buy something. Oh no! As soon as I saw their
No,
name, I'm
he
gonna
liked Scott. That was him just playing. That was, but you know, but other people don't know that. You know what I'm
that.
saying?
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's like to me, it's like so disgusting and disturbing, and it's like, my God, he's such a fucking bully.
That was like him taking little jabs at me. Like I know the guy's dicking around. He's like, Legion's just looking for something for free. Like, yo, nobody looks for like dirt cheap books on his shows because you know, like if something goes up that's a good deal, it flies. It will fly because there's hawks sitting there in the chat. Even when there's a small audience, like that Flash book that was up. Like as soon as I hopped over to that show, I saw that was sitting on the rack waiting to be announced. Like, yo, I'm diving on that as soon as he announces it. If it's at like a even just an FMV area price, because that's one
Right.
that I've been watching for a long time in those first Silver Age DC keys, and I don't I don't I don't think he like knew it was the first Silver Age Vandal Savage, or you know, because he's not just a comic guy. You know, he's a little bit of everything kind of guy. But the I think he went because he did it for $40, and I looked at like a beat up copy. He's got a bid starting price of 50. Like I was trying to figure out where he came up with such a low number on that book. But as soon as he said a number, like multiple people jumped to claim. It was a good book. A really good book.
I mean, he's just all over the place. Matt Invader's book. Both the Schomburg king size and the
The
number
invaders.
one. He's posted those multiple times when I've been there, and he just doesn't know the market price on it. It's he continues to ask way more. It's like he wants. I want $35 for this 8.0 book. You know what? That's great that you want that. And if it was slabbed, you might be able to get that. But as a raw book, I can buy those in an 8590 for $25 or $20 to $25 all day long. So and it ain't hard to find. Go look on eBay. There's 700 copies available just about. So
Yeah, I just sold mine on Pop's Attic just because like I like you just end up with books, whether it be from mystery boxes or this or that. That's I think I sold it for like $5.
no.
Just post it up for $5. I think Big
Yeah.
Boss had it.
Anyways, for anyone who's just wondering what the hell we're talking about, there was a Peddlin' Pete auction last night.
The Raw
That's
Pete.
and at one point during the show, there was a book he'd laid a bunch of books out on the table that were ones that were going to be coming up to the auction platform, and there was a book that I was somewhat interested in. I yeah, I don't know. He must sell maybe only like 12 books an hour. It seems like he's for all his thinking that he's fast paced, he is the slowest son of a bitch between in the world sometimes. And then, so I finally was getting ready to leave, and I had said, I'll stick around a little bit longer. Maybe you can throw this book up next. Doesn't pay attention. He puts up a different book, and he's bitching about how slow it was. And finally, I just said, "Hey, you want some fast money? I'll give you $100 for this book," which was the absolute fair market value price. And he immediately thought I was insulting him and everything else. But that's it. Whatever. So, how's your morning going? Welcome to Friday.
It's Friday for show. It's Friday for show. Good
Mr.
morning out
Dracula,
there,
happy to have
Dracula,
you with us.
Mike, Dale. Good
Yeah,
morning, one with life.
we did get a couple things in yesterday for Comics Curing Cancer.
I saw you just posted your flash too.
That was on my channel. So we got a sketch from Ryan Otagawa. I don't know if you knew anything about it.
Ryan Otagawa. It's
He's
not
a
sounding
comic.
familiar.
He's an artist.
Which is that the dude who did the Rocketeer thing?
No. I didn't have any contact with this guy. This showed up. I didn't know about um, his Wolverine sketch.
Yeah, I like that first appearance costume.
I'll be honest. I didn't know it was coming. I don't know his name off the top of my head, so I had to look. I had to Google him, and he popped up as comic artist, worked for some folks. So I don't know. For he's a visual artist. 27-year veteran who's worked for Marvel, Wildstorm, Aspen, Blizzard, and many others.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, cool. We got that. So I got to send him a thank you. I don't know. But and then received a couple books from Unruly Simeon yesterday.
Remember, Comics Curing Cancer kicks off October 20th. Still looking for donations. Key comics, graded comics, iconic comic runs, art. Message Comics Curing Cancer page. Rob, myself, or DJ for more information on where to send stuff. And if you're thinking, I wonder if they'd like that, ask us. The answer is probably yes. Yeah, I
True.
gotta go put some food in this dog's bowl, or he's not gonna stop tic tacking over here. He
Okay.
probably has food, but he's just so used to like when he gets up, going in there and getting food or a treat or something. I mean, he's driving me nuts. You're driving me crazy, Abe.
As
You
opposed to
hungry?
my dog comes over, bugs me that they're hungry, and then I put food in their bowl, and then goes up to it, sniffs it, and walks away.
Yeah, it's a power trip. Look, he's coming back. You hungry? And then he turns around and runs.
I really don't understand so many dogs that are like I I had the most hound dog in the world doesn't want to eat. Let's see. Would you went to two comic shops in Wilmington yesterday? Got three comics, all old. One shop was only old, and one had new. I was like, I feel like a Russian looking at the brands. Oh, okay, because brands you didn't know or something. That's kind of cool. Oh, yeah, no, the so comics curing cancer is coming shaping together nicely for those guys that they're wondering that at least from a scheduling go, we got we're almost ready to announce a schedule pretty soon as far as
Getting close.
shows.
Getting
Yeah,
close.
which will be good. And then, but yeah, a lot of good feelers out there on stuff. Hopefully, continue to get some more donations.
Absolutely. Brush their teeth. Rob, I want to brush some kids' teeth.
All right. Anybody's interested in getting the link, so I'm not sitting here just talking to you by myself. You're welcome to. Is it a link? Hit me up. Let me know. Anyways, um, yeah. How about that? So yeah. So comics curing cancer right now. With the big we'll kick it off on Friday on this channel, so those guys who are here right now, this is where to be to start it off when we get there on that Friday the 20th. That much is locked in. There'll be a lot of stuff as we kick off the whole deal. Looking to get ourselves somewhere in at least over 25,000 is the goal. um, Given last year we hit 22, it's not that big of a stretch. Eli's got his eye on that Rubenstein sketch art. Yeah, absolutely. That is 100% locked in and set aside for that. Come, that'll be up on the Sunday auction for sure. Um, that's one of the things that then I get to go do is go through all these different all the different stuff we get in and figure out where it goes and how the pricing is going to be and everything else, and it'll be pretty good. Does it start on? Yes, it's going to start here on Legion that Friday in the morning, and it will be a special longer format version of the show, and there'll be lots of different stuff that'll be going on. 100%. All right. I watch Ashoka. Yeah, I did watch Ahsoka. I thought to myself, what wasn't that as far as without spoiling anything for Merrick? That was probably the least dramatic reveal after all the hype that people had about like wondering who that character was. That was just kind of like a that's how I felt about it. It was just kind of like it was there. Didn't really matter. But other than that, it's the episode was a good episode. I mean, obviously a lot of people totally dug the episode. I thought it was a solid episode. I didn't think it was like, oh my god, I'm fully aroused by it. But you know, it was what you'd expect it to be. Well, Ahsoka, that was a short season. Well, the season's not season's not over. But I mean, at the end of the day, look, I don't expect that they're not winning this one, right? This is kind of like I expect this to be very much like the Empire Strikes Back. Our rebels are going to be back to the wall because if the goal is to after this to do an Heir of the Empire kind of like movie that crosses over all these different platforms, then my expectation is that the good guys don't win this one. It's kind of the problem with announcing certain things ahead of time. I can read into things, right? This will be Ex Ahsoka. I may not be smart enough to understand the reference, unless you're suggesting that she's dead. But if you're talking about where she ends up at the end of the episode, I don't see that as dead necessarily, as I see it as, um, you know, the world between worlds. We've seen it in the Rebels, the area that she was very much reminiscent of the world between worlds, and we saw people get pulled out. You can get pulled out of there. Um, Rumor has it that it was that speculation has it that they were going to utilize that to introduce um, kind of a multiverse aspect within Star Wars. Um, we'll see, but da, da, da. Yeah. So yeah, I don't see. Yeah, it introduces time travel. Introduces there's world within world allows for lots of different things to happen. Um, it's actually the world between worlds can be, as I extrapolate from from what we've seen before to with that area and to what we've seen in most of Star Wars. My kind of association would be is that's where when people have force visions that they tap into is that they see into the world between worlds where everything is in all times and points and in space are interconnected and they can see into it, and then potentially being that if there is um, a multiverse aspect to it or whatnot would explain why sometimes people see what they want to see or different or their force visions don't always come to truth. But also of course there's your what you look to see and predict always can be colored by what you want to see type of thing. So um, yeah, who knows, we'll see. It's fun. I'm sure Mark will be happy to talk in great detail about it on Sunday.
What's that?
Ahsoka. And
That was a fantastic episode.
I tap into World Between Worlds every time I shower. Well, that's Taylor. That's probably more information we really wanted to know, but cool.
I'm just happy he gets himself there.
That's right. Yeah, happy maybe it'll lead to the Ghostbusters action series where Ghostbusters are trying to pull Ahsoka out of the other realm. Yeah, it could be. Maybe, but it's kind of
These force ghosts show up to help somebody, and
but just so we're clear,
takes them out.
because it is Disney, it would have to be the all female Ghostbusters that would show up and.
Yep. Yeah. People trash that movie so hard.
I don't know
had
why.
a blast watching it. Dude.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly did too. I was like, what is people's problem with this, man? They didn't.
I never once went into a Ghostbuster movie, even the newest one, thinking, yeah, this will live up to the originals. Like, not once did I think that. And I don't know. I just think I like that crew, like Kristen Wiig and that alumni of SNL people that came through there, like Bill Hader and Jason Sudeikis. I love them a lot. There's a lot of good stuff with that Ghostbusters movie.
And Hemsworth sitting there as the secretary. That was great.
Yeah, and he was an idiot,
It's like, we just want you to be eye candy. Can you do that for us? Be the adorable secretary.
He did it. I like how they were just like so happy with all of his failings too. Like, yes, that's perfect. Thank you. And he's proud of himself. Yeah, you're welcome.
Exactly. I do think that. Yeah, I think that. Look, no way when I say that. Again, this is kind of like when I talk about how I enjoy yoga hosters, right? No way am I saying that this is the best Ghostbusters movie ever.
It's not good,
but it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I can objectively see that and say that. And I think that a lot of people who really, really hate it, and I'm not saying all people who hate it, because there are people who just say, look, I don't like that movie. And that's fine. for whatever reason your reasons are. But I think that there was a lot of people just went in with this preconceived notation of like, oh my God, you're gender swapping everybody. The world's coming to an end.
Yeah, I think that there was a lot of people that like, oh, this is going to suck, so they went in just pointing out all the things that suck about it, which is fair, like if you weren't down for that concept, you're not down for that concept. But if there's people that didn't care one way or another, went in, they're going to be like, yeah, that's not a good movie, but I had fun or you didn't have fun, kind of thing. There's fun
Yeah.
to be had with it. If you're a fan, especially of the SNL crew, that was doing a lot of, like, look at MacGruber. Like when they did the MacGruber movie, like that was one of the worst movies I've ever seen, but I laughed a lot through it just because of how bad it was and how goofy it can be. But it's the same group of actors, I just enjoy watching them perform, kind of thing.
Has any movie ever lived up to the original
Yeah.
Ghostbusters besides that ghost bus blowjob in Scott? Yeah, this is a thing. This is becoming a ridiculous thing with the way that theft, the thefts has gone all across this country in places
I
you
guess they're
hear
out of box collectors.
people just coming in and taking shit, and from clothing to whatever. It
You see
just
where God, I think is in Oregon somewhere they have like facial recognition systems to get inside of little convenience shops, little like food marts and stuff. The door's locked and has a camera and it has a little sign that says lock, look at camera for entry. You have to look there for it to track your face to let you in. So if you go in there and rob their store, they notice and the police too.
Hey, it's getting ridiculous, and the stores, the retail, that you want to talk about inflation, you don't,
Yeah.
they got to cover
What's
the cost of
crazy is,
both these losses, man, and it's
yeah,
like,
there's videos where you see people like just raiding stores and people in the comment section. Like there's a alarming number of people like that don't belong to nobody. That's the stores. They have insurance. Who cares? Like, yo, what are you talking about? Like that costs everybody who spends money in those stores. They're paying for that theft, not the
right,
store.
and then to sit there and say like, oh well, it's not any one political party's issue, it's just that's there's lots of reasons why people are stealing and people didn't steal. Well, what do you expect? The stores can't be expected to have their employees that are making $10 an hour try to stop these people and risk their lives over that shit. The stores all turn around and tell their employees all the time, don't get involved. Even the security guards that are hired there, most of them are, you know, not worth a dime, can't do anything. People don't fear them. They don't have the ability to do stuff. So, or you don't want to get into a situation where those guys are armed or whatever else, and they start, beating you and stuff. And even if you call the cops, well, those guys are long gone before the cops even get there. So, and then it's a low priority item for them. Well, okay, they stole $800 worth of merchandise. Okay, well, we'll take a report, and if we happen to come across the stuff, great. But if we pull a car over and then all those jeans are sitting in the back of the car, great, we got a closed case. But I mean, they got other
I
things
think they
to
have half of the
priorities,
Robin Hood mentality specs. They're stealing from people that have more than them, and it stops there because they're not giving it to anybody. It's all selfishly done. And I think there's just like, I don't know, like that crowd mentality. Like there's this really funny video on somewhere where it's like a cafe where people are sitting at tables outside of the little cafe, and they're all sitting there having their breakfast. And a group of like a jogging group, you get together with your friends, you meet up somewhere and you go jogging. A jogging group runs by, and one guy like caught him out of the corner of their eye and just sees people running. So he gets up and runs. And when he did that, the person at the table next to him saw him do that. So he did that. Within 5 seconds, that entire cafe area just got up and ran frantically because they didn't know what they were running from. You know what I mean? But it was hilarious. People just, you don't know when you just get in with it.
now I don't know, follow fucking
Walmart in Atlanta
civilization.
starts parking lot police station. Yo, the Walmart here in Augusta, we have like an Evans, Martinez, and Deansbridge Walmart. Deansbridge Road had a substation in their entryway. Like, yeah, you go through a double door, then you go through another double door. There was an actual glass wall decals on the glass, desks inside and everything, a little sitting and holding area, and county police sat there, and like they didn't have just like hired asset protection employees. They had those, but they have actual sheriff substation in there. But things got so litigious, and like you were talking about, just allowing people to steal because of the problems that come along with trying to stop theft, that they don't have the sheriff's department in there anymore. Best Buy, if you go to their sections in Best Buy, like their movie section is next to nothing. And I've asked them when I've noticed them shrinking it down, they said that it's not cost effective because everyone steals them all. There's no
Yeah.
point in inventory. Like that's literally what Best Buy told me when me and Kyle asked them where all the movies go.
Yep. You're gonna get to the point, or if they do have them, it's like just empty cases, and it's like you got to grab a ticket. We'll go get it for you.
Yeah.
Stores, and freaking go to Rite Aid, and like everything's behind glass. Then every aisle, it's like, oh, do
So I
I
got to
need it?
go get
I
a
gotta
Fuji
get. You got, I just have
shop
to
with
have an
me.
employee walk with me and escort me through the freaking store.
The
It's like,
entire
oh, I
store.
want one of these, one of these, one of these.
I'd like to look at the back of that and see if that's the one I would like. Yeah, Best Buy
What-
definitely exists. It almost these days, man,
Ugh.
it's weird though compared to what it used to be. It almost seems like a an inventory house. Like they have stuff, they have signs up, but like in their aisles, they just have inventory where they used to not have that. They used to have like free flowing aisles that used to look a lot more presentable. Now they just have inventory in their aisles, like TVs and boxed items and stuff. And it's
'Cause
always
that way
weird.
it's easier to steal. Cool. I just walk in, grab a TV, and walk out. Right?
Yeah, I just assumed it's because of like the increased online shopping, you know.
Well, it's probably actually more of either they're trying to create a idea like that they've got a lot of shit, or they don't want to waste time grabbing inventory from the back, and so they're just moving it out to the floor.
Yeah,
Because I
that'd
know
be a
that.
tough one. That's a tough one, aggressive.
I mean, when I used to I worked at a Best Buy for a couple months back in the day when they still before when high definition television was just starting to come into its own. I mean, like very early days, um, and so most everything was still big old tube TVs. And back then, it's like you couldn't put anything out. So anytime anyone wanted to buy anything, you had to try to go get somebody from the back to go grab one for you, and that was impossible. Nobody could carry them because they weighed so goddamn much.
What's up,
But
player?
I can't just. This is only song that can't get
Oh, you got to get it twisted around right.
Mm-hmm,
All right, hop up here.
ugh.
You tell Rob good morning.
Good morning.
Well, good morning to you, Mr. Finn. Are you looking forward to a good day at school?
Mm-hmm.
You going
What's
for
on
the three?
what's
You
on the
going for the
docket?
two?
Do you know?
I don't know if I'm going for 3 or 4, Daddy.
You need to aim for a 4 every day.
Okay.
You know what's on the docket? What are you
That's
studying?
a to-do list. A docket is a to-do list. What are y'all working on these days? He just giggled. Huh?
Yep,
Doing
there's
some
American
artwork.
education system right there.
Yeah.
We're
He
working
got his
on.
first report card back, progress report back day before yesterday. Perfect kid.
Good.
No, I don't
Like in the needs improvement meets or exceeds. Use because that's what it was. It was a progress report. You know, they're not like assigned number grades. It was just like, hey, these are all the areas and these are where they stand on them. He was on the exceeds and everything. So I guess sending him to that private like preschool thing helped out a lot.
What?
So I guess sending him to that private preschool thing helped out a lot. I hope he doesn't get bored with school and become like a drug dealer early on.
Well,
This
maybe
is
as long as he does so in a way that he makes enough money to take care of you, what difference does it make?
Yeah, Becker knows. He said, "There's my exceeds improvement, buddy." I was talking to We were talking to Becker while we were sitting there at the pizza buffet celebrating the other night.
Exceeds improvement, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how you exceed expectation. Thanks.
I
Thank
like
you.
the sound of exceeds improvement. Like you can't improve. You've already improved. You can't improve any farther. Maybe he'll create the cure. Maybe. But Rob,
Uh,
you wanted to pick your brain about it. Well, what did you think of that Ahsoka episode? It was fourth episode. It was the halfway point.
yeah, I mean, I thought it was solid. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it, but I didn't get all like super like. I saw so many people posting like, "Oh my god, this is like the," Arr! And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I didn't I ex- didn't think it was that tremendous."
When
I
was the
mean,
last
it was
time you
still
felt that for Star Wars?
well. Look, it had its moments in it that were good. I mean, and I understand why a lot of people like this episode. But I thought from a story standpoint, it didn't really advance the story. Right? It was high in action, and I mean, it did. I mean, yes, don't get me wrong, it did advance the story. Obviously, from the standpoint of now we're in a situation where the good guys still don't have the map. Okay, so except now that they really, really
Oh,
don't have. Now they
they
really,
got
really
it.
don't have the map,
They definitely have the map.
and then we have our big surprise that Sabine. Oh yeah, I'm with you all the way. No, okay, no, Ezra, I miss you, buddy. You know,
Yeah, so I think that there's a couple of people I've seen that are like Rebel fans that are making a lot of criticism toward the show. Like they're watching it, they're enjoying it fine, but there's a lot that doesn't seem to add up to them, like with the characterization, how they were in Rebels versus here. And I assume that they're talking about Sabine.
well,
But
people have to. Well, there's a lot of people who don't or have been going off on the Ahsoka stuff too. But a lot of time. There's a period of time that has gone by in here and we don't
yeah,
know what these characters have been going through in that in between time while they've been trying to fight the entire empire, rebellion went on, plus post rebellion time, plus them trying to figure out, you know try to find Ezra and what they were trying to do during that time looking. So there's a lot of stuff we don't know that can change a character significantly from how they were pre-war
mhm.
with the Empire.
Yeah, and
Because that's
I pointed that out as well when we were talking after the first episode, like when you see Ahsoka come back to meet up with Sabine for the first time, and her dad telling her, "Okay, just hear her out," like asking her not just to walk off angrily because there's nothing that we've seen on the screen of why they would kind of be distant with each other. So they're just piggybacking those emotions from something that I was unaware of because I don't follow them beyond just watching like the shows kind of thing. But for me, this episode, like it definitely it had like the most plot progression that I've seen in any of them yet. Where it seemed like it looked like on the surface, like because I've seen a couple of people say that it's just like an action episode, which I think the last one was that was just an action episode. But this one, all of the action was actually pushing the plot. Like you had them actually leave this galaxy. You had that interaction with Balin that it was kind of a big deal, and all the dialogue along with it. And that moment when Balin was monologue, what is that noise?
it's Izzy. He's in a busy place, and we're hearing everything and everyone around him.
Where are you at, Izzy?
I am at the Chiller Diner in New Jersey.
Oh, in New Jersey.
Yeah, on the
But when
on my way to Baltimore. So I'm not going to be here for too long. So just wanted to say what's up, guys.
like yeah, that moment when Balin and what's her name first met up, Ahsoka first met up, and Balin was talking to her and about Anakin, and when she says to this guy, like, funny, he never mentioned you because she doesn't know who he is. And when she said that, I'm like, oh my god, you B word. Oh my god, I hope he kills you. Because, like, can you imagine, like, had she known Balin's history with Anakin and still said that to him, like, come on, man, that
Well,
was cold.
we don't know what that there's any history there too, but
There
He's
goes
a
breakfast, man.
survivor
I'll,
of
I'll
like.
see. I'm gonna go now, but I just wanted to say what's up. I'll see you guys in a little bit. But
Have
got
fun
my
at your
breakfast.
con.
Yep. H61 is when we're hanging out in, but I'll be there all weekend.
I'll see you at 861. I'm going to go to H62 and just holler from across.
There you go. I'll see you guys later. You'll plenty of footage. There'll be plenty of footage. All right. All right, guys. I'll talk to you later.
Bye, Daddy.
All right.
But I'm gonna have to give you
I'll
some
come around.
Yeah, okay, that was how the Twi'leks and humans have kids. Yeah, there's been
Awesome sauce.
interspecies erotica. Sometimes there's enough compatibility, and there you go.
Sorry.
Nice, Mom.
So, yeah, I mean,
She's having a weird one.
the action, there's lots of action, and obviously we get
I wasn't laying in bed with her until late.
some interesting fights where I thought that the fight with
That basically means that she slept for an
Sabine
hour.
was kind of odd, that how she
I think she kept sleeping awake. I heard her.
um her fight in the woods was, she held her own, no problem, and how, again, it's like, oh, you guys should stick together is the advice from the droid, and it's like, okay, no problem, that sounds like a good idea, let's go split up. I don't know, that's the shit. So, and then, oh, I grabbed this thing, oh, I burned my hand. Why does Ahsoka have two sabers but always only pulls out one? I don't know. I see the only interspecies I could compute was Xena and Centaurs. Okay. I do not like a week to wait, so I'm going to binge when it's all over. All right. Well, that's your prerogative. There you go. Comic Man Andy was another man who thoroughly enjoyed this week's episode, I know. I kept seeing High Republic covers in the flight scene. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, Balin was awesome though. Like he did his choreography, and I don't know, that was a cool character. I think that was.
I'm interested to hear more. Hopefully, find out a little bit more about his backstory. We haven't really explored that, other than that we know he was obviously a Jedi, but that's all we really know. And he somehow survived Order 66. But yeah, I think a big fan. She uses once with Big Foe. She uses one saber. I don't know, but I mean, that was always my thing. Was I always liked Ahsoka's dual saber fighting style.
I don't think it would have helped her here. They've treated her like a BAMF and everything we've seen her in so far, and seeing somebody that was like effortlessly going up against her was awesome. It actually made him feel menacing, you know what I mean? And not in a sense like, oh, this dude's like cold hearted, because he seems like he's got more heart than anybody else in there.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like he's got a pretty. I mean, like I said, I'm really interested to see the way that he's portrayed and whatnot, what his backstory is. Hopefully, they will explore that more. That would be good to see. Because it seems like there's also some potential conflict within him too. So I could see at some point in this, like, at the end, somehow him trying to sacrifice himself to change something, or I don't know. It's Star Wars. All that's for sure is that there'll be some other twist and plot and change. And
yeah, that rage
like
and brute force. I don't think he has the rage is my thing.
no,
Like,
yeah,
I
because
think
he's
he's so clear of mind, man. He's just absolutely logical, and like go back to episode 3 when Obi-Wan's trying to talk to Anakin. You might as well have been talking to a brick wall that speaks a different language. He was just full of rage, and Balin's just pointed. He's like, I have a mission, I have a goal. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's not necessarily, like you say, he's not a Sith, so he's just not a Jedi either. So hence why I think is that the reasoning why that they have the orange sabers and not necessarily red sabers, right? It's like they're not full blown Sith. They haven't bled that thing completely and
Devoted, yeah.
bled that crystal.
Yeah, Count Dooku seemed to have his stuff in check as well. He was almost like a company man for the Sith. Because I remember like when Anakin had him down with both the sabers up against his neck, and Palpatine said, "Kill him." And he looks up at Palpatine like, "Yo, what? Wait, what? Wait, what?"
This is my pension plan?
Mm-hmm. But he doesn't argue it. He doesn't sit there and out him or nothing. He's just like accepts the will of the dark side. Comic fanboys, I got one comic, an All-Star Squadron I needed again, probably because Mark is going to talk about JSA. Well, love me some JSA. JSA is where it's at. All-Star Squadron's a great series. There's a bunch of good books to get out of that. Not a Jedi either, Rob. I'm still here though. What is going on, Dan? I don't know who Plo Koon is, but they had an orange.
Plo Koon.
Do you have to yell Plo? Plo Koon.
Plo Koon was the Jedi who originally finds Ahsoka and brings her to the Jedi.
Okay. Yeah, somebody had to. Yo, that was cool with the Sabine thing. Like, dude, I got so scared. I'm like, yo, are they about to give this character force powers already? And she did the little thing, and Shin turns her head and is like, "You have no power." I'm like, yes.
And then go to the armor. Pew pew pew.
Pew, 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 yeah.
which I like.
At her hand still up, just drops it down and shoots. I'm like, that there you go. Use that training. Use that Mandalorian knowledge. Use that.
Like I said, I've been saying, don't forget, they told us before back in Rebels was that the Mandalorian armor was designed, all the tricks and stuff that it had was designed to mimic a lot of the Jedi abilities and allow them to fight the Jedi on an equal footing.
Well, look at Django. Django drug Obi-Wan in a one-on-one.
So it's all interesting.
So, like with Ahsoka, God, what is it? Indiana Jones. They pulled the Indiana Jones move. Like you said, they don't have the map now. They definitely have the map. They have the map indefinitely now. They can't get rid of the map if they wanted to, because when she grabbed it, and it burned her hand, and then she went into the little.
Oh, so you're thinking the map's burned into her hand?
Not just into her hand, like where you can just like read it like a paper map, but when she was in that place, what did you see? Like she's standing inside of a giant star chart, bro, with all.
Oh, she's standing in the world between worlds.
Yeah, but it's got it has the hyperspace lanes in it, man. Like, and she's going to be able to hop on one of those Avatar whales.
In Rebels, that was those were just the pathways between the different worlds.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. But
which different space and different that exist outside of space and time.
Yeah, but that one of those pathways is going to take him to a place outside a galaxy in time.
Maybe.
That's what I'm guessing. Because, like, for one, we know they're riding the whales to get there. Because they've leaned into introducing the whales, and we know that unless like who's like the military or like the governing good guys, like you have the Empire, the bad guys. So I don't think the New Republic has like a Halo spaceport.
The New Republic's already said they don't even care. They don't see it as an actual threat. They don't care. That's why Hera left with like a few other people who are loyal to her take off to go try to do something. Because I
like that they keep I forget his name already, but the one squadron guy who's been like the glue. He's like he's the Coulson. He's Coulson.
Isn't he like one of the it's that guy who's portraying that role? Isn't he like one of the writers or something on from one of the shows at one point. I thought.
He must be. He's the John Favreau. He just keeps putting himself in. But it's cool to keep seeing him. But yeah, I'm guessing like that we're gonna have to ride the space whales. Ahsoka's just gonna be able to see the way now. Like I don't predict. Like, and I could be very wrong, and I hope I am wrong, but I do not predict that this show is going to get any better than what we just saw last Tuesday. I think that was going that. I think we just watched the best episode.
I
Of the
think that this
season.
next episode could be quite interesting if this is going to be the Anakin episode. So
And they're billing it for a limited theatrical release too.
release,
So,
right? A matter
but
of fact,
see, like
I'm
just
really
him being
excited
there,
to
like,
see how the fan base has come full circles and now is excited to see Hayden Christensen. I feel I'm happy for him that he's able to have this bit of a thanks to Clone Wars having redeemed that character so much that fans want to see him again, and he's getting a chance to not only in the Obi-Wan series but also in this series a bit to be able to see that connection with the fan, have fans actually enjoy his presence and stuff. I think that's great for him because he was a lightning rod for a lot of shit that not all of it was his fault necessarily. It was a lot of editing and story and how Lucas was writing the shit as well.
no,
So
you know well and good that I'm a prequel Homer. That's my jam. I like getting more Anakin, even though I wasn't too I wasn't too happy with the Obi-Wan series. Like that was probably the one I was most excited about because it felt like this is like some like extra context to my prequels and stuff. And like seeing Vader like walking down the street, pulling people out of the house, that's a cool image for a moment. But the show just didn't really live up. It had a couple cool moments, but it was too overshadowed by stuff just kind of like dumping on things, and I couldn't get past. Like I'm like, and they keep doing like crazy like bait and switches with all these shows. Like let's do the Obi-Wan show, but let's focus on little Princess Leia and Reva more than Obi-Wan. Let's do Ahsoka and let's make it about Sabine, but like they're balancing this one a little bit better because they're with each other the entire time. You know, that's helping a lot.
Shop, we saw Zeb at the end of Mandalorian. Who knows if in the final episode of Mandalorian, he's in the cantina.
The bar.
Yeah. So
are we sure it was him or was it just one of his races?
it
Like,
could have.
I didn't.
Nobody says his name.
Yeah,
but
you could tell from the outfit. I'm assuming
from the complete look and everything else, and coloring and everything else, the assumption was that it was Zeb. Now, will we see him again? You know, good chance. Who knows?
And
maybe.
To that point, well, first off, I'm familiar with who Zeb is because I've watched. I almost finished season 1 of Rebels now.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to say anything because I don't want Esteban jumping down my throat. But I'm working my way through Rebels.
Nice.
They're ridiculously short. They're like 20-minute episodes. The first season.
There's a lot of episodes though.
Yeah, well, not really, because the first season's 15. At 20 minutes, that's like what, like 3 hours? That ain't nothing. Like 5. That ain't nothing because I'm at work and I'm just playing it while I'm like grooming dogs and stuff. And I work 11-hour days, you know, so that really ain't nothing. Like I can get through that fairly quick if depending on how customers come in, because I got to pause it, talk to these pesky customers that want to give me money.
You know what they say. You know, this job would be great if it wasn't for the customers.
Yeah. But seasons 2 and 3 are 22 episodes, and then season 4 goes back down to 15 episodes. But one thing I noticed is how much people were like Rebels, Ahsoka, Rebels. Yeah, there's really not as of right now. There's really not that much Rebels in Ahsoka because you have
Ahsoka doesn't show up till.
Well, I'm saying you have Sabine and green hair lady. You have Sabine and Baby got back, and that's it. You don't have Zeb, you don't have Kanan. Chopper popped in for just a second.
You don't get Ahsoka actually till I think the last two seasons of Rebels, because or maybe you get it before that. But look, it's not. Ahsoka makes appearances in Rebels, but it's not Rebels isn't about Ahsoka. Rebels is about the other group. So, yeah. So let's see. Can someone explain the dude dying in a puff of smoke? Yeah. So that was
Yeah,
a good.
I
So
can, and I don't. I like. I have no context to this at all, and I can already tell you witchcraft, right? Like it's
yeah.
that's the witch lady just it was witchcraft because we talked about this last Sunday. I called it. I'm like, this guy is going to end up being nobody, no Star Killer,
Hmm.
no Ezra Bridger, none of that. It's going to just be an excuse to create something to kill. Like so you can't kill Shin, you can't kill Balin, you can't kill Sabine or Ahsoka. You can't do any of those characters this early on because that would make this have too much stakes. So you have to create something, just a punching bag to be able to knock down early on. That's all it was. It was just plot armor.
Yeah. Say no. It was Zeb. They said his name. Okay. Cool.
We believe you. Stop jumping down our
When
throat. I'm
when
just
did we
kidding.
not like when did we not like Anakin? I got news for you. There was
Dude,
for a
tons of
long. There was at least the first 10 years after after Clone Wars, the movie Clone Wars, as opposed to the TV show, came out that people were hating on Hayden
Mhm.
Christensen for his horrible performance. They kept saying it was all his fault,
They
that
thought
the
it was a horrible
performance was
performance.
awful, everything else. There was a lot
Rob's
of
been
that.
here when he's listened to me defend Anakin, like well before we even got to Hayden Christensen coming back. Like people definitely. I was shocked when I got on like YouTube and stuff and started talking to more people. How many people I talked to that did not like his performance, like the transition through him being a kid to like that jaded mess to just that ball of rage. There's like they call him emo Anakin, whiny Anakin. That's all I hear on repeat. But now people like him, which is fantastic. It's kind of like Nicolas Cage. I can remember back when me and the comic vet with Ryan just laughing because he thought it was hilarious. Me and him were sitting there defending Nicolas Cage to a chat that we were the only two that were like, "Yo, he's awesome." And now, fast forward 2 years, everyone loves Nicolas Cage for the like. I don't get it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Everything comes in ebbs and
So
flows.
shop's working on getting through Rebels. Most of the animation stuff was pretty good, except there was a series that takes I forget what it's called. There's another one that came out after Rebels that it was really targeted more for younger kids a little bit and
Oh
was
yeah,
take
yeah, yeah.
was take it
I'm
was
not
take
even putting
takes
it down
place
for
with
sure.
like takes place more with like the Resistance era, so kind of more with the Disney era films. It's not worth watching. It's awful. Don't do it at all. Um,
It's like it's made for like little kids too.
well, not. There was a different thing that's that,
I
but
don't know if we're thinking the same thing.
we're
I'm going
probably
here
not.
looking for the name of it. It wasn't Tales of the
I
Jedi.
think it was just called Resistance. Tales of the Jedi was one of those for super kids, but I think it was called like Resistance or something. Um,
Young Jedi Adventures is the one I'm thinking of.
yeah, no, that's not the one I'm thinking of. Um,
I'm thinking of this right here.
yeah, that is not what I'm thinking of.
This is what Rob watches when he's not online. Just think like all these kids were
Yeah,
killed by Anakin.
no, it was
That's crazy.
yeah,
Like,
it's called
they'll do all these youngling shows and stuff. Like, yo, like let's put it into context here because all these kids were murdered by Anakin.
yeah, no, it was a show called Star Wars Resistance that was focused on that, and it was not good.
You got BB-8 right there, or another droid of same
Yeah,
model number.
don't watch that.
Okay, I won't. Don't worry. Don't worry. Oh my God, they did a lot of it too. 21 parts, 2 seasons. I've never even heard of this till today.
Yeah, it was not good.
Wow. People have short attention spans. Yeah, they definitely do. They always hate things when they first see it and all of a sudden love it. I honestly think what's happening these days, because like like a few months ago we went through that real short phase of people like praising the Green Lantern movie and Fantastic Four and stuff, like just out of nowhere for like a week. I think what happens is like people are unhappy with this stuff when it came out, or the people that were, and then you fast forward to what they're giving us these days, and they're like, wow, I miss that stuff I used to dump on. Because the stuff we're getting these days are
Well,
or
I think
not
there's
being
some.
received as well.
I think there's obviously, look, in today's day and age, part of the way they do stuff, there's a lot of hype built up around things, right? And
Yeah.
people get a certain expectation built up, and then when they go to see it, that doesn't deliver necessarily on that expectation that's been built up, and so then it becomes, I'm really disappointed, or it's not what I envisioned, it's not what I want. Oh, I hate. And then some time goes by, you allowed time, things allow you to matriculate, maybe you go view it another time or something else, and you start thinking, you know what, it wasn't that bad. Yeah, I'm not, you come to say, "Hey, it's still not what I would have wanted, or the best thing ever, but it's not bad." And the same thing and then there's different audiences that see it at different times too. It's like for you, you know the original the prequel trilogy, episodes 1, 2, and 3, are very different than they are to me.
Oh yeah.
And I distinctly remember a lot of people not caring for. Now, I happen to actually find the original trilogy quite interesting because I enjoy the deeper lore and all the political intrigue elements and stuff that were brought to the forefront in much greater detail in those things. But they're different, but it's a different aspect. Um, but again, as time goes by, some of those you appreciate more than others. Just like there are some movies that over time, upon rewatching them, I don't appreciate them as much as I used to. I've gone on record many times in telling people that, look, Generation X, I get it. Star Wars defined our lives. A New Hope. I love it. It's a part of my soul. At the same time, it's not a fucking great of a movie in reality. It plays on some great tropes. It tells an interesting story, but at the same time, I challenge, go take off your rose tinted glasses and go back and watch it. It has its faults as well, and that's all I'm saying is that it can all be, at the end of the day, different ways. So our experiences change over time. How's that?
Yeah.
Or our view of
Esteban
things.
says he always tries to view things with no expectations because I feel expectations ruin things. I agree with that, but I also I'll point out that Esteban doesn't view a lot because he expects it to be garbage. You dodged the bullet, bro.
I mean, it's true. I mean, because when you go to the thing, there's been a lot of movies recently that come out, and I've said, "Hey, look," or either I'm going in with no expectations, or I'm going in intentionally with low expectations,
Yeah.
just so that way when I come out of it, if it's
I used to.
anything decent, I go, "Okay, cool. I enjoyed myself. It was better than I thought. I'm happy."
I love getting hyped up for stuff that I'm into. Like I love living in the fandom. Like when something's coming and it's fun to be excited for it. It's fun to talk about it with other people that are excited for it. It's fun to see all the merchandise and stuff that comes along with it. That you get new stuff to play with and everything. And it's such a letdown when it just doesn't live up. Like I don't mean like if it falls under expectation, that's fine. Like I set high expectations for stuff I like, but when it just like absolutely just misses the mark completely, like how Flash did, you know what I mean? Like that just like ruins getting excited for stuff on a level, like Mandalorian season 3 was one like that for me. Flash was one like that for me that it just didn't it did the opposite of fun, it just like, dude, man, that just killed that stuff. So it makes me like more hesitant to be excited for stuff. Like I wasn't excited for Blue Beetle. Like I completely managed expectations for that, and I had a phenomenal time watching that. That was fun.
When I pay money for a movie ticket, I have money expectation. Big money
That's
for a movie ticket, big money. Yeah, that's fair. That's probably why I decided before I'm joined a club where I pay just $9 a month, and I get tickets, one ticket a month, and it just stacks up, and I use them in blocks when I need them, and I
Oh,
don't
they
have.
they roll over.
Yeah, that rolls
Oh,
over.
I didn't.
So
You use the Regal one, or you
no, my
differentiated?
Cinemark. And so yeah, I get $9 a month. I get one ticket a month, and then it stacks up. They roll over and stack up, as well as also I can buy additional tickets at a discount and then when I go to this thing, I get a 20 or 25% discount at the concession stands. But so yeah, it helps to average out those ticket
Yeah,
price
Regal
costs.
has those. That's pretty cool. I might check with them and see if they have rollover. But I think this is probably a poor time for me to invest in that, being that we don't have any movies being made for the
Yeah, I
past.
don't. Yeah, it's like I'm getting to the point where I'm like, oh wow, I may have to stop this at some point here because I'm not going to see too many movies. Oops, sorry. You said
I
hi,
was
friends.
trying to
Good
say
morning.
hey
Go
to
ahead.
somebody. Hello. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning. I love your shirt.
You watch Ahsoka?
I did. I enjoyed it.
Lot to be enjoyable.
I don't
about
know
it.
about the whole. I was disappointed that the way they did it, where and I'm sure it's probably part of the story, and I'm not there yet. But when she reached out for that orb and grabbed it, I was like, what are you doing? Like, why aren't you just like knocking off the thing or something? I mean, but I guess that's probably part of the story. Like she's going to be able to read her hand or something, maybe.
No, well, look, the map wasn't on the outside; it was data in the inside. But it's not Raiders of the Lost Ark,
Yeah, it is.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
And then
It definitely is because the map didn't burn Shin when she picked it up. It burned Ahsoka.
right.
So let's see what we got here. It was like the Ahsoka was over top, hopeful and sweet Jedi. The universe has taken a long time beating her down. Well, yeah, she was. And then the Jedi fucking abandoned her. The fact that she's even fucking does anything, it's amazing. She's really not a fan of
Although I
all that
love the
stuff.
cutie porgs, I was not a fan of the last Star Wars movies that have turned into Disney jokes. I 100% agree.
Yeah, those ones are going to take. I'll be interested to see how they're viewed in 10 years, but
Worse.
it's
Worse.
there's definitely not a ton of
I think
redeeming
what's going
stuff.
to continue to make them worse is the fact that Disney wanted so hard for those to be like important films that they build off of, but they've gotten to the point now where the stuff they're making and doing is building separately away, like with Mandalorian and Ahsoka. They're kind of I mean, like it's adjacent. There's stuff that ties to it, but they're like staying in a separate lane right now. It's like they're wanting some of the negativity to die down. I don't think it will.
They're doing stuff in before the head time. That's laying the groundwork to make. They're doing basically a lot of retcon or filling in the blanks. That's hopefully going to do what some of the other stuff that they've done does, which is to say, hey, now I understand this clone shit that they fucking, because they've been building up. All of Mandalorian's been talking about this cloning project and trying to bring back the Emperor and all this other stuff. It's all laying that's all trying to fill in stuff that
I
to
need
make
context here because
so,
I'm an
so
episode 2 guy through and through, Rob, and
right,
Camino perfected cloning.
correct.
Right.
Cloning is
But
not
then,
a lost art or a mystery. Like what happened to
but
Camino?
but then in the Clone Wars cartoon or stuff, and in Bad Batch, we had the destruction of Camino.
Right.
Well, there it is. That explains it.
And all
Yeah.
and since then the Empire trying to get some of the cloning information and emulate some of that because they want to be able to, basically it's part of the Emperor's contingency plan, is for him to be able to have clones to go into. And that's stuff that's borrowed out of the old Dark Horse comic books, is borrowing this concept of the
Because like they
Emperor's
did establish
contingency.
that it would like they were the only ones that did it. They established like we have to go, and I didn't realize this, and Aggressive might have something to add to this. Camino is outside of the galaxy. Like so, like people that are kind of jaded about, we're leaving this is supposed to be in the same, and no one's ever said like why. I don't know why. I never even stopped to assume like there's only one galaxy. It's just that's where that's like saying like starting a movie in Idaho 50 years ago. Like, yeah, cool. If we do a movie about Idaho 50 years ago, that doesn't mean like Georgia doesn't exist or isn't over there. It's just not the point. That's not where the story takes place. So I never assumed to care like that. I always assume there's more galaxies. You're in a universe.
Because when Obi-Wan went to jump, he had that big ass ring around his ship to get to Camino, if I remember correctly.
Right, but so that's just traveling through hyperspace. The ship itself didn't
Wasn't
travel long.
hyperspace capable. He had to have
It
the
is, so
extended.
there's those
But
hyperspace rings,
Camino
but
was established as being outside of the known galaxy. The
I don't know if it was
not
outside. I don't remember
known,
if it
but
being outside the galaxy or it was just outside the known system or outside the
yeah,
system. So
it
that's the
was
whole
out.
thing. Is remember, there's the galaxy within Star Wars for the most part. Everything exists within a galaxy, but there are different systems within the galaxy, and then there's the outer rim. So you have the core galaxy. You have the core of the galaxy. Then you have the outer rim, and then there's the great expanse, and then there's what lies beyond the great. And nobody talks about, or they always talk about what lies beyond the outer rim, and but they never really go beyond that, and that's what we're talking about here. In
Yeah.
this case, is what that they're going beyond that, and that most of that hasn't happened. It was, if you go to the ancient lore stuff, that's all stuff from the old ancient hyperspace wars, which is where we're really kind of
Black
touched
Adam
on some of this
delivered. I
stuff.
love Black Adam.
But
I think Black Adam badass.
so yeah. So anyway, so the clone. So what they've been doing in Mandalorian has been laying the groundwork really for what retconning and trying to explain a lot of the stuff that was going on with the Empire, and they're trying to do stuff, and the talk of those various generals at one point about trying to bring back the Emperor and stuff, and that Thrawn now looks like is going to be their kind of like baby step in between, and as they going to do an Heir to the Empire thing, and of course the original Heir to the Empire series. The
We're
Heir
not
to the
doing
Empire.
Thrawn in this show.
Well, Thrawn will show up at like the very end, and because it'll set up the Heir to the Empire
they
movie.
announced the movie, the big
Right.
Disney Plus, this era, this phase of Disney Plus Star Wars stuff. They announced that they're going to cap it off with a theatrical project that'll be like bringing in the Mandalorian finale kind of thing, the Ahsoka finale. Clearly, they're just bringing Thrawn in to be the bad guy in that flick, right?
Right. Well, Heir to the Empire, the original series, or book series, included clones again too. So it's all this stuff
So
that
that's
kind
why
of
they
goes
had
together.
to shoehorn that episode into Mandalorian season 3.
So, it's all stuff that through various retcons can make the Disney trilogy palatable. Although those people who are ardent Skywalker fans, though, that becomes still a massive bone of contention of what you did more than I think anything else is what you did with this Luke Skywalker story arc in that, and how you ended up treating him and all this stuff was like really kind of the biggest letdown of the whole thing. I could almost live with everything. I could almost live with anything else that they did, just but the way that they treated Luke Skywalker, and I think was really pathetic.
Phil.
What else we got? I think Thrawn will win, but the twist will be Ezra's buddy now. I don't know that. I think Ezra won't survive. I would be more surprised if Ezra doesn't somehow sacrifice himself again, or didn't survive, or something, and we don't really even see him much. But I mean, obviously we will. But I don't think he's going to be. I think him turning to evil to help Thrawn is aggressive action is probably a step too much on the nose, or too much. I just don't see it.
No, me either. Rob, be on the lookout for this box. This box is coming UPS.
Okay.
Fuck the postal system. I'm not ever using them bitches again. They be screwing me over. But this is coming UPS. I'm gonna make my kid drive to the UPS store today as part of our practice driving. Huh?
Oh.
Make your kid drive it to Rob.
That would he should get his license.
You should do just a suggestion, Jim. Before you take it to the UPS store, you should buy your postage or your postage for it through pirate ship or something, because it's gonna be cheaper than going to the UPS store.
Yeah, but
you can still drive it. You can still go to the UPS store than to drop it off.
Yeah.
Without it, but your discount rate's going to be better than what they're going to give you, because they're going to charge you undiscounted residential rates versus you get the group commercial rate
That's
if you're already
that's
using
a
pirate
good
ship.
question. Did y'all ever think Luke was the chosen one? Like having. I mean, we have so much Star Wars now, like, and it's a hindsight thing. But I always thought it was Anakin. He was meant to bring balance to the Force. He was a chosen one, and he went down the dark path. And at the end, he's the one that threw the Emperor down the tube, right? Like, it was him. It was
I
always
never
him.
thought Luke was a chosen. I just thought he was a Jedi. I mean, not a Jedi, but like uh, like Rob said, when Star Wars first came out, it was the first of everything, and we were all enthralled with all of it. But at the end of the day, looking back, I was like, okay, so he was the son of a Jedi, and I didn't think he was the chosen one. And I always thought that at the end, when Vader did what he did, I was like, okay, that was the guy.
That was the guy.
The concept of the chosen one wasn't introduced until the prequel trilogy. So
True.
when you're watching the original trilogy, there's no chosen one.
Right. I didn't think
Prophecy.
I thought he
It's not
was,
spoken about.
important, but I still, and Rob, I'm with you. Star Wars itself, looking back now, yeah, I loved it and everything, but I think
still do.
To me, yeah, and I still do. I just think that Empire was my favorite.
Well, sure. I
just
mean,
me.
a lot of people do and say that, and that's fine. But as an arc, there's issues with all of it.
Oh yeah.
I've never been a huge fan of Return of the Jedi, and not just for the Ewoks. There's lots of things wrong with Return of the Jedi, in my opinion. But I still love the movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I don't know.
Clone
Yeah, I
Wars
mean,
is still the best one.
the whole-
Attack of the Clones is still the best Star Wars movie ever made.
the whole concept of the chosen one, there's lots of different ways you can interpret all these different things, and that's the whole point on these types of prophecies, right? It's like people see in it what they want to see in it, and you say, oh, bring balance to the Force. The Jedi seem to think that meant getting rid of the darkness. Well, no, just putting the light and the dark in balance would mean we kill off all the Jedi and leave it so there's only two Jedi and two Sith, or one Jedi, one Sith. You just brought balance to the Force, right?
And someone Sunday we were talking about that because there's supposed to always only be two Sith, the master and apprentice, and the apprentice usurps the master, takes on an apprentice, and keeps moving like it's a rule.
That wasn't the original
to
Sith,
the dark side, but in what was explained to me with by people with a lot more insight to modern stuff is like it's because of the power that comes with the dark side, because the way that they use the Force, they take from the Force, and they take and they take and they take, and those two people take so much. That's the counterbalance. It's not necessarily a one-to-one person kind of thing. It's what you're doing with the Force kind of thing. So about the balance doesn't have a specific number to it.
No, but
I guess that's where they're at now.
You got to understand that first of all, the concept of the two is a more recent Sith thing. It wasn't the origin or anything else.
Prequel era.
Well, it was something that was introduced by what I think is Darth Bane was the one who introduced the concept of the two. Before that, you had all kinds of stuff. That's what, like in the video games that I'm playing, the Old Republic, there's just like countless of them, whole legions of them. Of course, the Sith used to be an actual race of people before it became a religion, essentially. And then, of course, you have this whole concept really of Force users, Jedi, who have split into really almost like the Shiites and the Sunni, where you have two different believers of a same faith, but they've got their own different versions of it, and they war against each other over essentially the same thing. Is what you got with it.
Here's a take, Rob. If the Council would have promoted Anakin as one of them, then Anakin would have returned into Darth Vader. The Jedi Council are a bunch of dum-dums who are all self-absorbed gagas because they were just intimidated and threatened by Anakin because Anakin surpassed them all. That's a take. I wouldn't land in that camp myself.
Well,
I think that they just I think Yoda was just right.
There was within that, right? So there's a whole lot of things. First of all, a lot of things came to Anakin very fast. He was definitely very powerful, and one of the most powerful of all the Jedi. That there was never any doubt. The fact that he desired and had aspirations and stuff for that was stuff that was planted in his head by Darth Sidious. Obviously, all this stuff, which the Jedi then are wary of some of that stuff, and that's fine. So they have their reasons and their pace at which they do stuff by not having him on the council or making him a Jedi Knight. He was seated on a council by political appointment as opposed to their normal process. But there was lots of things that all led up to the disillusionment of Anakin. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff with him and the fact that he can't have attachments, but he's in love with Padme and the stuff that's going on with them. But really, where we laid a lot of the biggest groundwork to all that is actually not the fault, is what had fallen in between those movies, between episodes 2 and 3, which is all of the Clone Wars with Ahsoka. The fact that here he was, his partnered up with this Padawan that he's trained and does all the stuff, and when then the Jedi abandon her to the politics when she is framed, and the political realm is asking for the Jedi to turn her over, and the Jedi do and allow, rather than try to rally to her cause and everything else and look after her. The fact that they just abandoned her to politics, and then it turns out that she wasn't guilty of anything or everything else, and ends up having to leave the order, that devastates and breaks Anakin tremendously, and that then leads his greater into his distrust of the council and all the stuff that then when we see him again in the third movie of that original trilogy, that's where this now is just building on it and stuff and just confirming his belief that the Jedi Council is corrupt and doesn't care about all this other stuff. And then of course it also goes with the whole time the continued manipulations of him and his expectation of bringing peace to the galaxy and being allowed to think, planting the seeds that as a Jedi who's grown up through nothing but war and seen it, that order is established through dominance, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's kind of been reinforced and seen and everything else. So all these things go to, it's a great manipulation over the long haul when you put it all together.
Because that's one thing that we don't actually see on screen as much. Because when Attack of the Clones starts, he's at that age where he should be like advancing past Padawan to whatever was going to come next for him. But when we first see him in Attack of the Clones, he's already been heavily influenced by Palpatine. He already has that relationship, that one-on-one thing that, like, he went from like 10 years old to Attack of the Clones years old, and he has that working relationship with Palpatine. So there's a lot on there that we don't see as the viewers. It's already transpired, like you were talking about. So I think that like the Yodas and the Mace Windu's, they see this, they can sense this. They don't know why it's in him, but they see it in him. And until he's past those traits or overcome those things, that place at the table is waiting for him. It's not ready for him.
Yeah, this is Specs of Vision. This is one of my complaints about Star Wars. Look, I love it.
he's going in on this one.
Yeah.
Screw that. Yoda said, screw what Yoda said. He was a dumb too, which is why he died. Man, he died of old age, though. You got to give him that.
Yeah, he survived everything.
He ate right.
Yoda was guilty of what I said a lot of times. People see what they wanted to see when they had their Force visions, and which is why, actually, I always, if you look, especially when you take into the expanded universe stuff, right? So Yoda always had these visions of like for Luke of being good and doing all this different stuff, and you have the Emperor who's always expressing he's got these visions, he's foreseeing Luke replacing his father and ruling by his side and stuff, right? And that's one of the reasons why the story of Dark Empire from Dark Horse is one of my favorite all-time stories, is because in that's the story where Luke does, when the Emperor is resurrected, Luke feels that the only way to truly defeat the Emperor is to learn and understand about the dark side as well. Okay. And so he starts to learn the dark side of the Force, and in doing so becomes corrupted and does become essentially the number 2 to the Emperor Palpatine, and takes his father's place as the second, right? And only later on is then redeemed by Leia and her unborn children. But in that redemption arc of him and come back to light, but it allowed you to sit there and say, okay, this explains why, Yoda saw one thing and the Emperor saw another thing. They both saw completely different destinies for Luke. Both were true, but they
Right.
only saw the elements that they wanted to
Wanted
see. And that was so beautiful to me that I love. That's my all-time favorite, one of my favorite stories, especially from the EU comics. So great.
Okay,
Uh,
so
believe
with
that
that said,
Anakin
Rob,
is good.
it's do you know if any of those are in like any of those Dark Horse stories or in trades?
Yeah.
Are they? Because I really want to pick up all the books, but I wouldn't mind reading some cool. Like if you were to, maybe you could just do this for me on in a private thing. Just send me a list of trade of the storylines that are readable that you think would be worth reading. Because like you said, I'm like Mark. I've seen the movies, but I wouldn't mind reading some of the like Dark Horse stories but I don't want to get all the comics.
Yeah. No, you don't.
know?
And the Dark Horse stuff is not is not canon, right? Or not,
Even
it's not
better.
right.
That
And
was exciting. What you
better,
just said
yeah.
was very exciting
Right.
to me.
These things, these elements are stories that become folklore and whatnot, essentially within the universe. So they may or may not be true, and they may borrow
Like the
some of them and
comics, the
stuff, which
movies aren't
is great.
canon to the comics,
Yeah.
but you want to read the comics to see where it comes from and see what more there is to the story that'll never be put in the movie. But this is a good point on Anakin right here. I strongly believe that Anakin would have remained good if he was not rejected. I mean, he was trained by his conned hero mentor Qui-Gon Jinn.
Qui-Gon Jinn.
So I think that was the missing element. Anakin was never going to work being trained by Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan was a Padawan when he took on Anakin. He literally went from being a Padawan to the very last scene of episode 1 having an apprentice. You know, like that Anakin was being trained by someone cutting his teeth on the whole thing. Had Qui-Gon, who's like an established like master of the Force, been there, that might have been different, because Anakin, what people forget, was plagued by nightmares, plagued by fear. He wasn't just he had it, he was plagued by it. Night sweats, meat sweats, all that for his entire life after leaving Tatooine. So he was never ever at a point of rejection. He was taken in by the Jedi Council, like reluctantly, but they took him in and they were training him proper and everything. But it's just, I don't think that Obi-Wan was capable of the level of training that kid needed.
Mm.
That's me. That trained by Qui-Gon, I think it would have been a totally different story.
Yeah, maybe, but I think that the whole maybe because Qui-Gon may not have allowed Sidious somehow to get in him. But anyways, it's what was I saying? There was something. If I got the Force.
The Dark Horse stuff.
No, I was trying to keep. I was trying to look. There was some other thing that was. Oh, I wanted to say. So sorry. I want to say these books filled the gap between the movies. That element that was mentioned. So that was one of my things that I've continued to say is like I dislike the fact that Star Wars has become essentially where you need to do your homework.
Yeah.
Right. So I especially understand if all you do is just watch the movies.
That's me.
Right. My parents are the same way. My parents get no joy out of the Star Wars movies anymore. The original movies, they've played together fine. You can watch the original trilogy, no big deal. Right. The second trilogy is okay, but it's enhanced greatly by the stuff that they filled in, especially Clone Wars, right?
Right.
Or having to watch some of the extended scenes that were cut from the movie to make Anakin's fall make more sense. But so you have to do some homework there to make it better. And then the last set of movies is like a tremendous amount of homework to have to understand why is it that the New Republic has no military. Why is it that even though there's a New Republic, why is Princess Leia over here with this resistance group or whatever?
Right.
That why is she separate from the government? And how did the New Order come to be? And all this other shit, right? Makes no sense unless you go and do your homework. As they've progressed, they become more and more reliant on building a product for those who are deeply vested in the overall arc that makes it like, so okay, for me, I can enjoy this stuff, and other people will sit there and go, when you talk about it, go, wow, okay, that makes sense, or that's cool.
Right.
But the fact that you have to hear somebody who has vested time in a lot of stuff, and I haven't even vested the same amount of time as other people on a lot of this stuff, right? And they're like, my son had to explain to me certain things because he read some of the books that I haven't read that really explained the whole shit with the New Republic and their disarming long before we're now getting that. We started getting that in Mandalorian,
Right.
and are getting it here in Ahsoka, where we start seeing some of this idea of dismantling the military. That's all stuff that will explain how they got to that state in the Disney movies, but we're getting that's years removed from when those movies were released, and people were going, "What the fuck?"
Well, I mean, I feel like it can definitely be confusing sometimes. I've seen, let's put it this way, I've seen all of the movies. I go back and watch some more than others, just because, like where they connected, I get that aha moment, like Rogue One. I love because at the end of Rogue One, I'm like, oh snap, it matches right up in the, you know what I mean? I was like, the
last 10 minutes of Rogue One are all I need to see. The rest of Rogue One, I've said it once and I'll say it again. All the people who sit there and tell me how much they love and think Rogue One is amazing, I said, take the last 10 minutes off that movie and then tell me what you think. I mean, it's still a solid movie, but it ain't like, oh my God, this is great.
It's a solid movie because it deep dives in, you know what? It's just it deep dives into a section or a part of the you know, of how
the opening crawl.
I'm sorry, of how the you know, how things came to be and how, you know, the Death Star came to be and the people involved in it. And I guess if you weren't like if you were like me, just a fan that had seen the movies, it's kind of interesting. It's almost like, okay, this guy was the guy that helped create it, even though he didn't want to create it. And this is, you know, the things that happen and transpire up to a certain point. But yeah, that last 10 minutes, you're right. If they didn't have that, it probably wouldn't be as cool.
The only thing that I found interesting for the most part, because essentially the plot of that movie was already known because it was outlaid in the opening crawl for the first frickin' movie, right? For New Hope.
Right.
The notion though that the flaw in its defenses, the open exhaust port that flows directly to the core that would allow you to blow up the fact that was a designed flaw was probably the most interesting element of Rogue One.
Right.
To me, I mean, I still like Rogue One. Don't get me wrong. You know, it just like I like most Star Wars stuff ultimately, but I just didn't. You know, I kind of see that last 10-minute sequence as what really makes that movie. Because up until then, it was like, okay, this is fine. I don't like. You know, it's kind of like even look. I like A New Hope. I like the Han Solo movie too. To a degree, and most of Rogue One, I'm like, okay, I like it just as much as that, and until you get to that ending just goes like, wow, I'm fully aroused. I'm freaking go, you know, not only to see Vader the way he was, but then as they've talked about when he says he saw when Scott says he saw Leia, you know, show up, he could cry. Yeah, I got excited about, oh my God, yeah, and then of course the whole shit with the Tantive 4 taking off, and it being pursued by the Star Destroyer, and that's how you end it, and you know that's immediately how now you're like, this movie really legit ran up into moments before this movie, and that was exciting.
Yeah, I think there was more than just that though, because like it had a fantastic cast of characters. That design flaw you're talking about was put there because her dad, Jen Erso's dad, was the one that was being forced to build it. Like
and I like that element.
Visuals that Garth is such the way like he directs, he is just such an untapped resource. Like he is such a good director, and you can pause that movie at any time and just be awestruck by a lot of the visuals. Seeing the Death Star like operate and being on ground level when it did was fantastic. Like I just kept thinking of that line that Leia used in the opening of episode 4 where she's telling R2-D2 a lot of good men died for these plans. So like it had a lot of weight to me in that movie, just like because like I remembered that line like when we got into this and stuff, and I don't know, like it was the first time we saw like street level Star Wars stuff.
What
I don't
happened to
know.
the Bothan spies? Yeah, that's true. So we see giant ground. Yeah, I do like some of the stuff with Jeddah and stuff. And it's an interesting element that, um, realistically, we don't explore. They haven't really touched on as much, but it does lay some of the groundworks to the origins of the Force and as it was as a religion and before necessarily the Jedi themselves and the split between the everything is just kind of the wills. Some of
No,
the
and Donnie
that's
Yen was
the
awesome.
the concept of the wills was such a early element actually of Lucas's original treatment for Star Wars that kind of got dropped because they didn't want to have to explain the wills. And it has later on slowly been making its way into some of these retcons and being re-explored, and some of that stuff with Jeddah was interesting to see that come to play. Deep cuts. Um, don't you guys remember Anakin's high hopes? If they gave him false hope, getting accepted to the council, those gags, right? Definitely, you're high on Anakin's failure. Got it. I like the whole abandoned, not squeaky clean rebels. Okay. Let's see. I like Han Solo more than Rogue One because I know Han Solo, but not those characters. Fair enough. And most of those characters in Rogue One die. So Han Solo, he got a lot of crap. Um, it was a fine train heist movie. It was an independent, standalone movie unto itself. I don't. It doesn't need to tie into anything else necessarily. I mean, yeah, okay. Whether you like the way that Solo gets his name, yeah, that's kind of goofy.
Did you see it? Like
But
you might not remember this, but I'm just now going through Rebels 1, and then like God, it might have been the second or third episode. They talk about how Wookiees are being used for slave labor,
mhm.
and they even use Zeb as like a diversion. Like, oh, it's a rare this kind of Wookiee kind of thing to sneak in somewhere. And it made me think of like Han and Chewie meeting how the Wookiee was being used in like an enslavement camp. I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was all. That's always been part of the the
Mhm.
long backstory was that Han had freed Chewbacca, and that's how Chewbacca's life debt to Han Solo was established. Um, that was a long, and that Han Solo was originally part of the Imperial Navy that had long since been established in previous lore. Not ton of there were a couple small books that were done in the 80s that kind of touched on some of Han Solo's adventures before he becomes a member of the rebellion and everything else that I remember reading. And it also kind of touched a little bit on some of his back history with Lando and such. But I mean, yeah, the Han Solo movie, I didn't have a problem with it. I was actually, I'm actually kind of, I kind of like it. Some of the stuff that they set up with Kira and the Crimson Order and stuff that then we find comes up in the later on in the comics that the way that they brought some of that into play. I kind of dug some of that. Behind
Hold
all the
on, I'm
shows. Oh,
answering this
sorry,
question real
sorry.
quick.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oops.
So
Yeah.
he was asking. He's new to the new subscriber, new to the channel. Happy that he found a place, a geek sanctuary. This is definitely what this is. This is my channel, and on Fridays I do like an open hangout for people who have channels in the community and stuff. And Rob has a channel himself called Rob's Fat Stacks, and Digger Jim even does a channel where he does like comic calls and like metal detecting and stuff like that. So typically, most of the people that you see on here are either just like long-standing members in the community, or they have channels of themselves.
Yeah, this is Mark's channel, and then this show is just a hangout show and talk about stuff. But my information is right there. My channel. If you just go to YouTube at robs.fats, you'll find my channel, and search Digger Jim, you'll find his stuff too. Absolutely,
Yeah.
happy to have you join us here. What was I?
You hit Burke's comment wherever it went.
Oh, I'm so behind on the shows. Okay, yeah,
There it
fair
is,
enough. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of them. I fortunately just kind of watch. I watch them as they come out, which was fortunate. But for those people who weren't watching them, it's a lot to get through, which is why, like, look, Clone Wars and Rebels have a lot of stuff it's interesting if you're really into. You really want to get deeper into some of the lore. I mean, Rebels has some really interesting takes and information that comes out of it with regards to the Force. As does Clone Wars, has some really interesting information. There's some episodes that don't mean a lot to like the main story that seems like to be going on there, but later on, like in Clone Wars, they touch on this whole idea of the Force dyads and stuff that there's an element of that that's introduced way back when, which of course ties into the Disney trilogy. There's stuff with this in Rebels. So there's a lot of stuff when they introduce the Bendu and how this starts introducing more of this concept that we're starting to find again with the Disney stuff when they start talking about the Jedi need to die type. Luke's talking about it's not necessarily saying that you know there needs to be an end of good, but the concept that that the Jedi and the Sith have really kind of drifted apart from the path of the Force type of thing and kind of become these absolutes that don't allow them to think outside of their own, and neither one is right or wrong, but there's a whole path in the middle. The Rebels really has a great introduction of the concept of a neutral element of the Force. There, as well as, of course, building on the whole concept of watching a rebel cell that is independent and only worried about its own little thing, that later on, as it slowly starts to get teased into a broader element where they start to try to get these different unique cells to work together, as we also are introduced into in Andor, which really then allows you to build a rebellion that will then fall into the later on Rogue One and A New Hope. So it is stuff that does have some stuff that's very little small pieces that build and build and build. But if you just wanted to really get into like, I want to know what I need to know for Ahsoka, even Disney Plus has some like essential episodes that they've put that on there that you can watch. They've marked out, said, hey, these are the more essential episodes to be able to, for stuff that ties into Ahsoka. And I don't think you need to know it, but I mean, it definitely enhances the viewing, right? If you know these characters and understand their relations and about all this stuff.
It's kind of like comic tie-ins. You don't always need them, but they definitely increase the value of it.
That's true. Burke, just wait for the VHS tapes.
Oh Lord.
Anakin killing the Jedi kids was a bit too much. It just goes to show how he really snapped. What was funny is I always used to laugh was until Rogue One came out. And this is why Rogue One, that last 10-minute sequence, that I really do love it, is until then, in movies, what have you seen of Darth Vader? He's supposedly this big badass, right? All you had seen is Anakin kill some younglings. You see him kill an old man who surrenders. You see him beat up on his son who's not even fully trained. And then he gets killed by his son, or he sacrificed himself for his son, who decides not to fight because he doesn't want to see him get slaughtered. But it was never. He didn't show anything in those original movies other than I force choked a few people.
Right.
You didn't see him as a flippin' badass until you saw him there. And then, of course, obviously what they've been doing in Darth Vader comics is next level stuff. What they've been doing there of introducing this concept of that the emperor fears him and all this other type of stuff, right? But by the time we see him in the movies, he himself is like a broken old man too, and just really is a shadow of, or even in the early movies, like I said, he slaughtered these younglings. We never saw anything until Rogue One, and that was the first time you really said, "Oh, motherfucker, that's the Vader we fuck," and that's why I think so many people were upset with the Boba Fett show. Was we got that piece finally for Vader, where we had built up this expectation that Vader was this total badass, and we got that delivery, and then
We got
Boba
that
Fett,
from Boba Fett as well, but it was in his introduction in the Mandalorian. He came in and wrecked house. He was a teetotal badass,
right?
And then they do a show like, no, he's a pacifist. He actually doesn't even wear a helmet. He wears
Exactly.
he wears a dress. He sits in a hot tub and he dances. Like, what just happened?
Let's see. So the Jedi equal Christians, the dark side, cutie pie, agnostic. I don't necessarily. I wouldn't say that so much because
You can always draw parallels. But I don't think
if you want to go religion, I think I would stick more with my Sunni and Shiites, where they're both following the same religion but have different views onto it, and they war amongst themselves, as opposed to those who have one particular faith and those that don't. Or even for that matter, you could say that, Christians and Muslims, because essentially there's arguments for the fact that, look, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam all are a common religion that share a common set of roots. Yeah. So there you go. That would be a more on par type of analogy, I think.
There's no atheists or agnostics inside of the Force. They all definitely believe.
Yeah.
Star Wars should be seen on Laserdisc, where you have to get up and flip the discs. There you go. I always say all the time, look, I watched Star Wars at the drive-in theater on the metal box hanging from the window the way that
Ben said he's just a guy who likes to cut a rug and have a spa day once in a while, Mark.
Right.
Let's see. I do. You like the Crimson? Yeah, the Crimson Reign arc wasn't too bad, actually, and it was a nice tie-in. Absolutely. Obviously, I'm behind in this chat here. I didn't know they had a life debt. Just thought they were a ride or die smuggler. No, he has a life debt, and that's then it later on extends to Leia when they got married, and then I think it's something that was kind of.
What is that?
It might have been touched on in the old Christmas special. Let's see.
Flipping disc kept me from getting fat.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for posting the stuff up, Tyler. Why aren't you in here, Tyler?
Yeah, Tyler.
Yeah, he hasn't shown up in here in a while. I don't think he likes you anymore, Mark. Did you guys break up?
He just doesn't like to do YouTube except for Friday nights.
There's not enough Irish talk here, so he doesn't like us.
I don't know. He just
Notre Dame for the first win of the season.
Work schedule and new dog schedule, and he hangs out in the chat. So I mean, he's cool. We need Tyler's take. We need a segment called Tyler's Take.
Yeah, killed a Safi. Yeah. 80s Han Solo trilogy is awesome. It was like, oh yeah, the comic, the story, yeah, that I was talking about. Absolutely. Let's see, Marvel comics of Darth Vader. He can pull down stars from the sky. Yeah, that's what he. Yeah, he does. He didn't pull down no Star Destroyer, but he did blow the hell out of a side of a Star Destroyer. And right now, run through stuff, running amok. He's pretty crazy.
Mark, what'd you think of that Godzilla minus?
Sure.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up here when we got past all this. The full trailer for Godzilla -1 dropped between last Friday and this Friday, and it looks phenomenal.
I know.
American release on December 1st. It says wide release, but it'll be a limited screening version of a wide release. It's not going to be like a full on. I'll be there opening day for it.
Oh yeah, my son
looks so good.
Yeah, my son has already said, Dad, we got to find the movie because it won't be here. It'll probably be in like the next town over in like Germantown or something.
Well,
But
that's perfect because he can practice driving to get there.
that's right. I said, boy, you could be driving to it. So that's my answer to everything. Anytime he comes to me and says, hey, I want to go do this. All right, well, get ready because you're going to drive to it. It's got to be a part of your everyday thing, just like it is for everybody else in the world. But yeah, he came to me and he's like, did you see this? Did you see this? And I was like, oh yeah. He's like, it's like him being, I don't know, his version of, he's always hyped when something new like that comes out.
Mm-hmm. It's been set. We might as well throw those bikes away and get new ones because we got to do so much work on them. But this is going to be cool because it's been 7 years since the last Toho Godzilla, and it was Shin.
Yeah.
And Shin is an animal unto itself. Like that was I don't know why they didn't move forward with that. I guess they got like too abstract with some of the stuff that they were attempting to change about him. But so this is like a new Toho Godzilla #1. You know, this is right after World War II and the reconstruction after the bombs fell and everything. And here he comes.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty jazzed about it. I'm always excited when he gets excited about something like that he loves. So
yeah, Finn's pumped for it.
What was on the napkin of the day?
Yeah, it's Friday. It's pizza day today, so she didn't do a napkin today.
Oh, boo.
Everyone liked your guy game yesterday.
Yeah, that guy game was on point.
I worked really hard on that.
Yeah.
She gets so stressed. The kids go to bed. She's like, "Finish this napkin. Can you help me?" I'm like, "No, I'm not drawing napkins. Like you started. This is a bonding thing with you and your son. So I'm not."
That's right.
We need more Ninja Turtles though, because those are really easy at this point, and there's only 4, so I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pizza. Yeah, pizza. I love the original Godzilla films as a kid, and this is the first time I've seen a Godzilla trailer that instantly took me back to being a kid. I love the legendary stuff too. Like,
yeah,
dude, I absolutely love the legendary stuff. So does Finn, and I'm excited that within the next, within like the next 9 months, we get 2 theatrical Godzilla films. We get -1, and we get Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire, which I'm equally excited for both. They're completely different animals. I'm pumped to travel back down to the Hollow Earth and get introduced to Scar. And spoiler alert, but they're bringing in Space Godzilla for this one. He's not going by the name Space Godzilla. He's going to have like a name that like the people back in the day dubbed him. You know, kind of like Ghidorah is a dubbed name.
Yeah,
the name Godzilla is what they called him. He's going to have a name that they call him.
I mean, I tell you, man, taking my son to those G-Fest, their version of cons was an eye-opener. I never in my life thought there were that many people that were into Godzilla.
And yeah, there it is. Jeezy's talking about Shin, like in the movie Shin. You know how he would like expel all that. It looked like blood, but it wasn't.
Right.
And then even at the end, when they managed to freeze him out, you can see his tail. It looked like shapes of people coming off of him, and he had the stuff falling off of him. He was replicating, he was reproducing, he was going through all these stages, and it was going to get real weird. There's some really cool like deleted scene stuff you could look at, and some storyboarding stuff they were doing, and some 3D modeling to look at the next evolution size stuff that was coming. Yes, he is.
What English word harassment? What?
We're not harassing you, Tyler. We just miss you.
Yeah.
I see. Like I'm all right. I'm Camp King Kong, so I completely disagree with this.
I knew that was gonna happen.
Yeah. So like, if
that's
you go
okay.
back,
I'm Camp Godzilla.
Like I wish I had the emoji up. Or might go get the GIF of King Kong stuffing the tree down his mouth. King Kong won in the 1970s. He won that fight. This
only in the U.S. version.
Yeah. Well, where do I live?
They had to artificially make King Kong larger, and then.
Yeah, but this legendary Kong, I like what they did with it. I think it was good, but I like how they also established in that battle at the end, like like these guys both have their strengths and weaknesses, but Godzilla drug him. Like, I mean, he drug him when he like went full like beast mode and was like crawling on all four and everything. And yeah, that was brutal.
That was brutal. Yeah. I even like the Mecha Godzilla some of them. Some of them I'm like, wow, what a waste. We spent taxpayers' money. You blew it. That was terrible. But we've seen them all. I can tell you that in this house. If it's out there, he's made us watch it at least once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we live with Godzilla stuff on TV. Godzilla, Ultra 7, Gamera.
Mm-hmm.
Like Finn loves he's a kid. He loves robots. He loves giant monsters, but he's just really linked on to Godzilla for whatever reason. He does, and it'll get your nerves, but he does like the Godzilla roar. He can be doing it in his room. You're just like, God, please stop. Because like his version of it, it just like pierces my
Is that
ears.
is that a frequency that you didn't know you could hear?
Yeah, it's like it's literally like a version of the most annoying sound in the world from Dumb and Dumber, because he's not really going like that to do it. Like, oh my God, it's true.
That's funny.
What is going on, Old Wolf? How are you doing today?
Yeah,
I'm amazing.
I did like he's got his Scott was saying his Godzilla right there with his Shogun Warriors.
Yes.
Rocket Fist Godzilla with the freaking Shogun Warriors with the shoulder missiles.
Man, every time I've seen one of those Rocket Fist Godzillas, there's no Rocket Fist. Like all these different toy places, they don't have the fist. It's kids lost them or something, and they just kept the body.
Right, if you can find them, those are that's the same thing with like when you buy like some of those like the G.I. Joe loose figures and some of the Star Wars figures stuff. The accessories that came with them, often those little guns and stuff. Oftentimes those are worth way more than the figures are and stuff, because those are the things that got lost, right?
Yeah, I mean we lost. So we got the. Battlestar, what was it? The Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah,
ship?
the Viper and the Cylon Raider with their torpedoes.
Yeah, but they shot out.
Yes,
when they first came out, they shot out.
Yes, the Cylon Raider, the wings popped out. It had two torpedoes on either side, and then the Viper had one in the nose cone.
One in the nose, and
even the Revel model kit for the Viper. Colonial Viper had a torpedo that was spring-loaded torpedo in nose on that, because I remember my parents took the torpedoes away from the kit, from the toys, but they forgot to take the one away from my model kit, and so I still had the spring-loaded missile on my the nose cone of my model kit.
Right. Well, that was the thing, though. I mean, we lost. I think I lost it within less than a year.
Sure, they shoot out. They go underneath the couch or God knows what,
but then they came out with another set. Remember, they came out. They said some like kids were like, choked on them, and then the next batch came out. It would just push out. It wouldn't shoot all the way out, which I thought was dumb. I was like, that's ridiculous.
Yep.
But
all right,
there's always some.
Let's hit this one. Quick. Shift gears. Freddy Krueger versus Jason versus Michael. I'm Jason all the way.
Yeah, that's.
I don't care,
because you have a bunch of different era Jasons. Freddy's pretty consistent. Michael's more or less consistent these days.
I don't know. Does Jason or Michael dream?
They established in the Freddy versus Jason movie that Jason does in fact dream, but it was like this weird concept. Like he has to like Freddy got into his dreams. Like he's a supernatural creature, I guess. Like there's just thoughts. Right. Remember, like they were using that like as his fears against him.
I don't remember because I don't really watch these movies. They're not.
Oh, man, that was such a big deal when it came out. That was such a huge movie when it came out.
I mean, I've seen most of the Halloween movies because I had friends of mine that was like what they did every Halloween was sit down to watch the stuff. But for the most part, like Friday the 13th movies. I mean, I unfortunately saw like the fucking Jason in space, and Freddy Krueger. I mean, I've watched, I think most of the original Nightmare on Elm Street. Watched Johnny Depp get slaughtered and stuff. But,
Yeah.
but I mean,
Rocksteady's
aside from
got
that,
Freddy. Mr.
yeah,
Green's
aside from
got
that, I
Freddy.
didn't get into it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you, Rob. I only saw a handful of them. I think I saw 2 of the Freddys, maybe
of
2
Freddy.
of the Jasons, and man, I'm just not a, I don't know, Michael Myers stuff. I think I saw the original and that was it. Yeah, I didn't invest that much time into them.
It wasn't a genre that excited me all that much. Pardon me.
I've got all of them. The Freddy
And
stuff,
the
the
whole,
Jason stuff. I love
just, I mean, it was like, oh, we're just gonna kill people for this. Yeah, not a slasher fan. Slasher movies were, I prefer them when I don't mind, the killing and stuff, because like some of the stuff that they did with when they introduced, was it the one with the ghost face? What's it?
Scream.
Scream, yeah.
Like the initial Scream and stuff. Some of those I thought were kind of cool because there was a better suspense element to it.
And there's a comedy element to them too. They knew what
Yeah.
they were, and something Williams wrote those. He also had that movie Cursed with the werewolf and Christina Ricci that was really good. But he had a good run in the early 2000s with horror stuff because he was very self-aware. You know what I mean? He knew what the genre was. He knew what the time era was, and he balanced it really good.
Yeah, but once it got, like Scream 3, Scream 4, Scream 27, whatever else, it just became, those things.
6 now, but apparently 5 and 6 are ridiculously good. Like 3 was.
That's what I hear, but.
Yeah, I think it was really just 3 that kind of went off the reservation. Like Scream 2 is my favorite one. They brought in Timothy Olyphant. He's just been like one of like my on the radar actors ever since he played Mickey in Scream 2. I thought that was fantastic. And Scream 3 went really weird where they're like making a movie about Scream 1 and everyone's on the set. It was just bad, but Scream 4 was actually really good because I remember that came out like 2013. And I was shocked with how good it was. There was like a gap between 3 and 4. They were bringing it back, kind of thing. And having Julia Roberts' daughter as the killer was wicked. She did a great job. And then there's a long gap. And now that they've done 5 and 6, everyone's saying they're legit good modern day slasher films.
Yeah,
and I haven't seen either of the two.
I don't know. Don't appeal to me necessarily, but whatever.
Yeah.
I think my age helps a lot because like all these slasher movies are really born out of the 80s. Like there was some slasher stuff before then for sure.
Yeah.
But like that was really when they were like the flavor of the day. And I was born in the 80s, so I wasn't watching them then. So being like coming up in the 90s, like these were like on TV and like just this really as a kid, just like what interesting method can somebody get killed?
I just always thought it's like, there's easier ways to see naked tits.
But I watched on TV, so there's no boobs for me. No boobs for me.
Just watch the Conan movie.
And again, we've talked about this before, like back in the day before like MCU and stuff like that. Anytime you had like long running franchises, I was always very interested because there was a lot of story there, like the Jason stuff, the Freddy stuff, the James Bond stuff, the Terminator stuff, the Aliens universe. Like I loved all that stuff that actually had like the film version of getting into a universe. And I wonder what they're going to do in the next installment. How's this going to impact or add to what came before? Even as a kid, I was thinking about stuff like that. Like, well, this movie wasn't that good, but it added this level to the stuff that we have. Now there's more context to this. I've always loved like playing the continuity web of stuff. It's just
I can't talk against that because obviously I just spent the first hour here talking about that for Star Wars. But
for Star Wars,
it's one of those things. You don't.
The painting when he's painting the flowers, he's painting the flowers and looks up and she's just posing.
Oh Lord. Yeah, Airplane's the best. It's funny. Rob is whenever my father wanted to see a movie that he knew my mother would never approve of, he would take me. I'm taking Jim to see, not John, but he took me to see movies that he's like, your mother won't go see this, but we're going to go see it as men. That's what he would say, as men. I was like, okay, but I'm 11, right? You're good enough.
Was a solid Bond. His movies were solid
If you're 11, damn. If you were Jewish, you'd be a man.
Yeah. Well, in his mind, it was good enough. I think once you hit over 10, he was fine with you seeing anything he wanted you to see, and it, R-rated or whatever. And that was a big deal back then. It was like, ooh, gonna go see an R-rated movie with your old man.
Timothy Dalton had 2 really solid movies.
Yeah,
I did hate that Sharky died in the second Timothy Dalton one. I forget the name of that one, but Sharky was cool. His little contact guy.
Battle Beyond the Stars. Interesting,
man.
Oh yeah, with Jonathan. What's his name? Like, God, he played in the Waltons. He's got the big mole. That's a Roger Corman film, Battle Beyond the Stars, that he made like to contrast all the space operas that were happening.
Yeah.
He played John Boy Walton in the Waltons.
Yeah, I remember going to see Conan with my dad.
Richard Thomas.
Yeah, Richard Thomas. So,
did not sleep well last night.
Battle Beyond the Stars was not a Star Wars ripoff. Star Wars never had a Valkyrie. Wasn't a ripoff. It was Roger Corman. He was the original sci-fi movie Saturday Night.
Yeah.
I've got Battle Beyond the Stars. I have all of Roger Corman's movies. All of them.
Yeah, I didn't. It was yesterday. I went to go down to the LCS to get my books, and it was late in the evening. They were about to close, and I went in and I was like, I'd like to get everything out of my box, and they're like, yeah, Square is down. We can't do anything unless you have cash. And I was like, that's okay. Never mind. But I don't know. I may end up dropping these guys. We'll see. They're starting to
comic shop. You said?
Yeah. The Square, like they use Square, and it was evidently hacked or something. I don't know.
If they use Square, they should have they probably are capable of just receiving PayPal then, right?
I don't know. I don't know enough about that stuff he just said if you had cash, you're fine, but I can't use your card. And I was like, it's all right. I'll get them later. It's not. I just put in a couple of things that I wanted in the box that weren't on my list, and Yeah,
Lady F. Final Destination 2 was I love that movie. So I think I was like 15 or something when that came out. So I wasn't old enough to go buy my own ticket. And like, this is back when on Friday you go to the theater, there's a crowd in front of the box office, like waiting in line to get up there to purchase a ticket. And I kid you not, me and my brother and a couple of my friends just went and got in line. And the guy that was in front of us, we just asked him to buy our tickets, and he pretended like we were his nephews. When we got up there, he bought our tickets. We went in and just went our separate ways.
Nice.
That was a fantastic opening scene to that movie. That whole opening was insane.
That show gives me. I mean, I watched just a small snippet of it and was like, oh, this is gonna keep me up at night. This Final Destination's gonna mess with my head.
Yeah, Saw movies are ones that I don't care for. I thought that first Saw movie was fantastic. What a great twist at the end, but they just became like torture porn after that. Like,
yeah,
the story would be intricate, but like it was like they would unload the intricate at one time at the end. Like, hey, look how smart we were. Just like, I didn't need to sit through all that just for this, man. I don't understand how they've made like 9 of those. Good morning, Pocan.
Pocan Joe.
That's how you did it in the day, or you got ticks for something else and just snuck into the R movies.
R movies. Lady Fantastic knows.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, who sits around and thinks up these devices? Oh yeah, golly. Even worse, the arm wrestling scene in Jeff Goldblum, the first Fly movie, when he sits there and just snaps.
See, I really like that
happened in
movie.
real life. Huh?
I really like that movie.
Yeah, The Fly that is a phenomenal movie. I like
Yeah.
The Fly too when his son's born and they're like him just breaking out of the government installation, the science installation, because he goes full fly in that one, but
Mhm.
like full fly. Cronenberg is a wild director.
Yeah, I like that movie. I don't know what it is. It's just if it's on, I'm okay sitting down and watching it. So sometimes you just stop and you're like, oh, let's watch this for a while.
Yeah, dude, I guess I just don't have like the right. I don't channel surf anymore, but I don't even know what's kind of like frequent on TV these days. I have YouTube TV, but you don't really channel surf on it, you know?
Right. Well, I'm always, I have all of the apps and everything. So if I'm not in like Netflix or in Disney or in, I have the regular television that just runs down. And I think it's because we get it because it's packaged in as part of the bundle that my wife set up. So I'll go in there, and especially if I want to watch my soccer or a sporting event or college football or whatever. So, I don't know. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. I gotta go wake up that kid and tell him to go eat some breakfast. We got to get the day rolling.
Get your driving shoes on, kid.
Man,
They see me rolling.
It's just I'm just trying to get him to understand that I almost want him to just run into something, like just okay, you got that out of your way now, or you don't be afraid of it anymore, because he's always like veering to the a car be coming up beside him, and I'm like, dude, you are right on the edge of the curb here. We are going to hit the curb. You need to. That car has its space, and you have your space. I mean, we're not driving a tractor trailer here.
They tend to forget. Kids or early drivers tend to forget themselves. They like to put themselves in the middle of the lane, and they forget the fact that they're not sitting in the middle of the car.
Yeah,
it's not a McLaren, right? You're fucking offset, so you need to drive offset from the center lane. I remember sitting so many times in the passenger seat as we're driving down, like especially when we started getting on the freeway and stuff, and cars would come along. They tend to shift more over to the right. I'm off the road. I'm off the road.
Yeah.
I'm off the road. I'm off the road. Which of course now some of the more modern cars are fun because then it was like I put them in like my car and it would beep every time you start to deviate from the lane.
Right.
They'd really hear like beep. It was like, oh yeah, see that?
Well,
you just got a fault on your driver's test. You just got a fault on your driver's test. You just got a fault on your driver's test.
I purposely went through a section the other night. The other day we went through a section of country roads, and some of those country roads they have over here. They have like 3-foot ditches. So if you go too far, you're going into the ditch. And there's no coming back. So I don't know.
We also got some of the ones where they got on the right hand side, they got the rumble strips for the truckers. So that way, if they're driving and they start to nod off and they start to drift, you go so they go. Whoa. It's like watch the driver also. Woo!
Well,
I'm glad I don't have any more kids to teach how to drive because that was some of the most.
You have to do 60 hours of this, and 10 of it has to be at night.
Minimum.
That's the minimum, and we're not even.
You really don't want to put them behind the wheel until they're ready, truly ready. But we did the. I remember we'd go out a lot, especially around here since I'm in the Bay Area and traffic's really heavy.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of like we're going out early in the morning, and I knew certain areas where like on the weekends we could go where, okay, we can get up to speed, and there wasn't necessarily a lot of traffic. Trying to get more and more comfortable with that before we started introducing heavier traffic. But
that's why we're doing it now at almost 10 o'clock. All of the people have gone to DC or their jobs or wherever. So now we're in that zone from 10 to 12 because at 12, everybody's going out for lunch. So we'll see.
No,
I'm with you, Rob. I'm thinking the same way.
Yeah. I'm glad that that's behind me.
What's up, Nick?
It is interesting though. Like my oldest, when I see him come here, he's now 22, and he's been driving for years. But when he does
Yeah.
drive, I get in the car with him nowadays. He's the one I don't the only teenage boy on the planet who got keys to a car and didn't like speed off down the street once he had his license. He drives like a fucking old man. And I'm like, can we? No, long skinny one makes it go, kid. Come on.
Yeah. I fear that's what's going to happen here, but I
Nick,
hope
how long
not.
do you have till Elijah's driving? More than just a scooter.
4 years.
Yeah.
I mean, if you technically count, he's driving now because he's got one of those electric scooters. So
Yeah. You and that scooter.
I am fiscally responsible for any damage they may do. So
Nice.
it's like almost the same thing.
Yeah, Emma's full-fledged driving now. It's weird. It's not too weird, but
Did she take a class down there, or is that part of school down there?
no, like I paid a lot of money for her to take this class when she had her like actual driver's license driving by herself. Like when we went to St. Simon's 2 months ago, she drove her cars like herself, kind of thing.
Okay.
Is
Well,
that
you know,
actually
like
part
I mean, in Virginia,
At
it's
15
part of
years old.
school. Like you take a driver's ed class in Virginia, they have it incorporated, but here in Maryland, they don't do that.
Yeah, that was
Here in
cut
Georgia,
from
you
the
don't have to take a
schools.
driver's ed class. You go take the written for your
Mhm.
learner's permit, and you can do that on your birthday at 15. And then
wow.
then at 16 years old, you go back up there and you take a little driving test.
Mhm.
Like, can you parallel park in this space the size of a semi truck? Do you
Yeah, I
use
know.
blinkers? And
We
that's
had,
how you get your license.
You have to take here. You had to take a course,
Mhm.
a certified, an instructor-led course, and then you had to have 6 hours of instructor behind the wheel training, and then Digger said like 60 hours of behind the wheel training with an adult driver, 10 hours of which minimum must be nighttime driving.
Mhm.
And like that, like it used to be offered here in the schools because every kid needed to have it. But that was one of those things that when budget cuts came around and stuff, it got axed and shifted to completely private stuff
Yeah.
nowadays. So
Well, 34 years ago, you didn't have to do any of that because you just took the horse and buggy down the street and you were good.
Yeah, just think how different the roads are now to like even when I was young. Like they're always like widening roads, expanding roads. Like it's just like I'm 36. I'm already hitting that phase where I'm looking at stuff like golly. When I was doing this was just
Mark, when I was a kid, this area that I live in, this industrial Silicon Valley, it was mostly orchards. It was rural freaking orchards, buddy.
Yeah.
Well, I think nowadays that a class like that is more needed because we didn't have people on their phones all the time.
Agreed.
Oh, that was a fun thing. So the car my kids have, which is great, is a car that it was my grandfather's car, and when he went into hospice, he willed it to me for my kids to learn how to drive and everything else. So it's an early 2000s Honda Accord. It's got, less than when I got it, it had barely 30,000 miles on it. And it still has it's got about 35,000 miles on it right now. Every time you take it to any place, people see it, are those original miles? They want to, they're blown away. But it doesn't have, it has a CD player in it, but there's no auxiliary jacks. There's nothing else.
Right.
And my kids are like, my oldest doesn't care. He doesn't like he doesn't like to have the radio on when he's driving. He likes to have it so he can focus and concentrate. I guess he really took it to heart when I put it in his mind that, hey, you could kill somebody in this thing. And so he's like all hyper focused. Whereas my youngest is always like, how come I can't place my phone into this? The radio sucks. It's like, well, you fucking want to pay money and get your own shit.
Right.
That's on you.
I can't even take wired Apple CarPlay anymore. I'm like, that's archaic.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I need to get you one of the. I don't even know. Do they make a RF tuner that plugs into your iPhone that you can then tune it to your radio station?
It's just weird. I mean, like when sometimes I want the radio going, and then other times I'm totally into just listening to, some type of talk radio or a blog or whatever,
Depends on my distance I'm driving.
Yeah. I mean,
If I'm driving,
yeah. And who's in the car with me?
if I'm driving to work and stuff, which is only a short drive, I just usually put on the new. I leave it on the news station. I just want hit the news headlines while I'm driving in. That's it. If I'm going on a long haul, then yeah, I like to have music on, and I'll put in, then I'll put in my plug my phone into the system and let it play. But
like when John and I rode together to Heroes Con, I learned all kind of new music because he listens to stuff that's totally different from me. And I was like, who is this? This isn't bad. And he's like, you got to write this stuff down, brother.
You got to fight.
There he is.
For your right.
So
to build evil projects.
Going on, fellas. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Oh, good. I got 10 more minutes before I have to be in Romania.
Yeah.
Joe, have you ever eaten alligator and or snake?
Yes.
Both. I've eaten alligator. I've never had snake.
Yeah.
Was that the question of the morning?
No.
That was a question that Chad a few minutes ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've eaten
I thought alligator. There's a place here called Papados that sells alligator legs like chicken wings.
Now, me and Pops went to a wild game dinner years ago, and they had all kinds of stuff there. Alligator was one of them. It's not that something that you wake up like, oh, I'm hungry. I want some alligator today.
It's like fried gator nuggets from the tail or something like that. So I had it. I think it was at Papados or something, but at some airport.
We have a place here called Gators. Guess what's on the menu?
Ostrich. Whatever the gator catches.
Yeah, right.
All right. I'll see you guys later.
Happy driving there, Jim.
Wish me luck.
May you survive.
All right.
All right.
Bye. Have a good time. See you guys later. That's like the one behind Heroes, Joe, right? As one of the most favorite cons to go to.
Baltimore?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of mad I can't make it this year. But, oh well.
Go Kai. There's probably stats on it stuff somewhere, but the reality of the situation is it's school of fish defense, my friend. That's overblown media hype that for the most part, unless you live in the deepest parts of the ghettos, you're fine.
Yeah. Every state has their bad parts and good parts.
Or, and hear me out, when you get here, just buy a gun.
That doesn't necessarily protect you from psychos, but but I still say that in reality the situation is it's overblown and overhyped media reports, and the reality of the situation is given the number of people and everything else, it's school of fish defense is a real thing. There's a million fish, and you're one in a million, and the laws of statistical probability says so long as you don't do things that increase your risk, like living in the deepest part of the ghetto and stuff, and walking down the street and going, "Hey, all you,"
yeah,
you're gonna be fine.
Walking through, some parts of Appalachia, probably not the best place to go either.
Yeah, and I think the main thing is you don't act like a victim, you're probably not going to be a victim.
That's right. You know how you not be a victim? Let me tell you about today's sponsor. Buy yourself a gun. Buy yourself a gun. For all your military and tactical gear, buy yourself a gun.
Anyways. Joe, I saw your I liked your Toy Story teaser. That was cool. I was like, what is he going with this? And then all of a sudden I saw it. I was like,
I have been learning how to play with a feature called Chroma Key, basically it's green screen type stuff, and how to line that up, how to line that kind of stuff up and use a little motion traction on it. It's the only reason why I'm on YouTube is just so I can screw around with editing software. I have a reason to buy it.
Yeah, cool shit.
That one that you used, it was like draw, and it looked like it was drawing the images, the video as you're watching it.
Yeah,
that was a fun little tool.
Those are fun. I still have that one. I
There's only
don't
so
use
much
it
you
as
can
much.
do with it. Like once you do it, you've done it, kind of thing. But it was so cool looking. It was good for that promo you ran.
Shooting blanks, buy 2.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's fun
goodness.
software to play with. There's another one where you can animate stuff. It's called Toonly. I haven't used that one in forever because it's kind of janky.
There's no news, be that news at all. Yeah, I really miss the days when the news was local news was actually local news that focused on just you and your area. And I think that the consolidation of media and the deregulation of media in the 80s really did a number on making it so that way local news the local newscasts now tell national news, so all people hear are the worst stories, the sensational news stories from around the area, and think that they hear stuff from all outside the area and think it's happening everywhere, and it's not. And the good stories have vanished from the news and really make everything seem worse than they are when you look at actual stats on crime stats on certain things. A lot of stuff that people think are really big issues are not, and actually have gone down on a lot of things. So, but anyways, I got 3.
The lizard people are taking over.
That's right. Space lizards are here
Down onto your
to
gold
take over.
ones and learn your lesson.
Joe, do you watch
And-
Y-Files?
Not the latest. I watched the lizard people one. I haven't seen the one they just posted.
Lizard people.
That is wild.
Yeah,
I
it's
love that
it's such a fun show. Yeah.
That makes me so happy. I feel like I need a little sidekick in the evil layer.
Yeah, get you a little cartoon sidekick to say all the stuff that typically gets you demonetized. What a workaround! Like AJ is so smart. With that. What a workaround!
I didn't say it. An imaginary fish did.
Yeah, I didn't say it. That thing said it.
All right. Well, do they hide extraterrestrials inside Area 51? I doubt it.
Whatever, man.
Last
year, if you said you saw an alien, you were a
grant
nut.
that extraterrestrials
Like
are
Congress.
real. They wouldn't be there anymore if they ever were. If the public is that in the know about it, they would have to have moved them, right?
I just don't have faith in the government's ability to hide something of that nature for this long without real proof or evidence or something having leaked, given the way that everything is these days.
Doesn't
They had
somebody like
Blackbird for a
every
while.
year leak UFO stuff from the government? Like, but
they never-
shows
they-
about that.
But it's always like, oh, I'm going to come and I'm going to tell you that I've seen this stuff or
Yeah.
that I've heard from somebody that this stuff exists. They never actually bring any evidence, and that's the thing.
Man, I'm pretty sure a spaceship's heavy. I'm not sure how they're supposed to carry it.
Bob
Pictures.
Lazar.
There's only there's cameras in everything, Joe.
My guy, I can shut down any camera anywhere with a simple device. I'm sure alien technology's figured that out too. And I'm not making an argument.
See,
against
now you're
it.
just making
I'm just saying.
excuses.
Maybe. But
The comic vet's here to straighten us out on aliens hiding in Area 51.
Thank you, sir. I stand
Go.
relieved. I will now stand down while Chris fills in for me because I need to go to Romania.
Chris, is
Unfortunately,
it football season?
he's going to talk about the Bills, and I
Yeah.
apologize to you all for that. Just ask him for the bill. All right.
I got enough bills.
Comics Curing Cancer. Make sure you follow at Comics Curing Cancer, October 20th through 22nd. For more information, talk to Mark. Love you all.
Bye, Rob. Have a safe flight to Romania.
You're coming back, right? Like these meetings are only like 5 minutes long, and he jumps right back on.
Typically about half an hour, a little give or take.
It is only 7 a.m.
It's what?
What's up, fellow AFC East guy?
What's up? Morning, everybody. Mark, what was your question? Aliens, what?
Oh, we were right when you hopped in. Someone in the chat asked, "Do you think they're hiding aliens in Area 51?"
Not at this point anymore, man. They were probably moved out in the late
Yeah.
60s. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
if you grant that aliens are real, like they would have had to have moved them once, like
Oh,
any kind of
yeah.
public got in on.
Long time ago. They're all under the Denver airport.
I just want our alien overlords to know that I appreciate all that they provided us.
Lady Fantastic says, why has string theory in physics been dead for the last 70 years? Because nothing is left to discover, or maybe because something was discovered and it went black. I didn't know it was dead. You have people like Lawrence Krauss out there doing
Lawrence
all kinds of like
Krauss,
cutting edge theoretical physics. I think string theory's hit a wall. Specifically, if you want to use that, that's hit a wall that it's going to take advances to get beyond, because you start getting into like they've been diving into quantum stuff, there's so many cool little quantum theories out there right now that have just popped up in the last 10 years and everything. I wonder if it's because things went more theoretical than practical, because we've hit a wall with what we can do.
Well, we've hit a wall of what we can tangibly prove.
Yeah, we gotta be able. We need more physical discoveries to be able to take the theoretical experimentations.
Well, we just found that stuff that came from the outer part of our atmosphere down in the ocean. They just did a release on that a few days ago, some particles. So they'll be hooking that up to the old machines, and maybe we'll learn something new from there.
Caroline, you have the link, don't you?
I would love to see a new element.
I don't know. So I can see.
I think it's funny that the Bob Lazar element that he spoke about in the 80s was admitted not too long ago.
Pokenite.
Not to shift gears on you guys, but I was looking
That's
in
all
the
we're
chat.
doing, Chris.
Looking in the chat before I came on, I can see Gokai Green has been promoting Canada, but he's
Canadian.
Went back. Yeah, I can see it further back. He said that there's no gators or crocs in Canada, and he also said there's no rattlesnakes in Canada. Well, that, sir, is incorrect, because the Massasauga rattler is certainly here all over Ontario and is incredibly deadly. And the difference between the famous American rattlesnake that's in around the desert and everything, the western desert around Nevada. The difference is the Canadian Massasauga rattler usually hangs out in rocks and stuff, and it won't shake its rattle until you're literally about to step on him within 2 to 3 feet, and that's what makes it so dangerous.
And then it apologizes and moves.
I'm saying, he doesn't want to. He wants to, not bother you until it's very, very last.
And he's the most Canadian of all snakes. He's going to leave you alone until it's the last moment. But yes, it's incredibly venomous, and its population is actually growing within the province of Ontario. But again, like I said, it won't shake its rattle till you're basically too late, and then it will strike, especially if there's eggs or whatever around that's trying to protect. But yeah, Canada does have rattlesnakes, and
all you'll hear is sorry.
We've got rattlesnakes. I mean, we got cottonmouths, we got moccasins.
Yeah. But
keep those things as house pets down here in Texas.
You take them to church with you in Texas.
Yeah.
Dance with them.
Sometimes they lead the mass. Bible thumping back.
Oh, in Alberta. No, okay.
Chris, are you going to be mad Tuesday morning when your team is 0-1?
Are y'all doing sports again?
Want to grab some coffee? Anybody need anything?
As long as you Irish it up a little bit.
Not just coffee.
Exactly
coffee brand coffee. Shameless plug.
Honestly, Nick, I'm kind of feeling whatever way that game goes is going to be who's going to be king of the mountain for the AFC East for the rest of the way.
No way.
I don't think Miami can keep up with the big two, and I think the Patriots are an afterthought.
I'll put it to you this way. The last time a Jet fan guaranteed a victory, they haven't won anything since. So if you're a smart Jet fan, you don't guarantee victories. Because it's been 54 years since even a trip to the Super Bowl. Let me see, Bill. Season's off to a good start if you like watching football. Pretty good game last night.
Very good game last night. Very good game. But I know the Jets went and addressed the quarterback problem, but I don't know if they addressed the O-line, which was causing them a quarterback problem.
Yeah.
But their defense is looking good. Their wide receivers looking good. Until you beat the man.
Yep. Unless you don't, yeah. That's what I'm about to say.
Let's see.
That was the last guarantee that worked out for us.
America and Canada equal awesome. The UK lame, and their variation of English is outdated. Well, as someone that travels quite a bit, I can honestly say without the United States, there is no Canada. Simple as that. Thank goodness for the North American Free Trade Agreement that keeps Canadians and middle class Canadians working.
You're welcome.
And no, it's true though. This is not me being sarcastic. This is truth.
But it's more.
Yeah, as someone that's worked in manufacturing for almost 24 years now, that's the case.
Yeah, my brother says you're welcome, who worked at a factory plant down here for 10 years until they shipped it to Canada, and he lost his job because of that agreement.
Okay.
So,
blame your president.
Chris, like, back to the coffee.
No, blame your president. It's got nothing to do with me. I'm just saying.
Well, and to
works
be
for me.
fair, like, even though that's a shitty situation because he chose to ride out to the last day of the company, part of that agreement is like because he had, like, you know, he went into that job at one level, but he was there for a decade. So he had a lot of on-the-job training, he had a lot of on-the-job stuff where he was making killer money and he was at a very high position. But if you just look at, like, his resume on paper, there's, like, not actual schooling attached to those workplace experience learning and in company advancement. So, like, he couldn't like ride this job out that they literally mailed all these machines to Canada. It's crazy, but he couldn't just walk out of here and go apply for that same position somewhere else without the actual certifications that a place with a new employee coming in expect to see. So the government, because they ripped his job out from under him and gave it to another country, the government had to pay for him to go to schooling to qualify him up on paper to where he was. And they did that. And he wrote it out. He followed the steps that were given to him by, like, the government per the situation. And he ended up getting a job at another factory, which is like the golden goose of factories in this state. Like, it's AIG or something like that makes sluice buckets. It's the only company that makes sluice buckets like this for the entire world. And he's, like, loves the job 10 times more, is making way better money. And so it worked out in the long run. It was one of those crappy situations, but when the tape played out for him, it worked out great. But he was the only guy from that company that actually got a job at this place. People went all over. We have a lot of factories here.
So that's happened to me twice in my career in manufacturing. The first job that I had that gave me an opportunity to become a supervisor and everything, when the housing crisis hit the United States under W's regime,
2008.
The company I worked for ended up closing shop because they put all their eggs in the basket of American contracts. When the Canadian dollar basically went at par with the American dollar, all the American contracts, when it was time to renegotiate, just said, we're done. We're keeping things American because of what's happening down here. And the company ended up folding shop. The second time was working for a company manufacturing water heaters. An American company bought it, took out the machinery that they wanted, brought it down to the United States, and just packaged out everyone else that was there.
Yeah, welcome.
But the biggest,
like that.
But the biggest one is usually when factories both in Canada and the United States close down, is they go to the third country that's involved in North American free trade.
China
is Mexico. Because Mexico can, at the time before Trump changed the deal, it could bring stuff in from China and then reassemble it in Mexico and slap a "Made in Mexico" sticker, and then it would be free to travel through both Canada and the United States.
And that's how we have
not anymore. Not anymore.
Canada has 6 months of cold winter. I hate it. I want to live in America where it's hotter. If you come down here, you only have 6 days of winter. And when I say winter, I mean like 30s.
40.
Do you mean shoes instead of flip flops?
Well, you can still wear shorts as long as you have like a long
Yeah,
sleeve
flip flops.
t-shirt
It'll
on.
be fine. No, I wanted to say just about the physics thing is that so Edward Witten is the guy that created string theory, but his father, Lewis Witten, was actually studied gravitational physics, and the study of gravitational physics was the most important if it came to creating technologies that would be applicable on Earth, right?
Mhm.
So what happened was that when string theory came about, and when the father, Lewis, actually hit his peak, he just kind of disappeared. There's a lot of brilliant, if you look at a story, and I can send you some documentaries, but in the 50s, and it was in the 50s, all of these brilliant gravitational physicists were all of a sudden going to the East Coast and kind of disappearing in this one lab that nobody heard of. It was like New York State somewhere. And actually, they think that it went black because a guy with Lockheed Martin, I think it was a Lockheed surname, was also involved in there. But basically, the going word is that we have the technology to see all the shit that you see in the air, but we're not sharing that. And the problem is that in academia, when you come to these big discoveries, there need to be papers. And I think what happened and where we took a really wrong turn is that we may know more about physics than we're letting on, but we're utilizing it for weapons. But that's just me.
Now, hold on. Lady F, you anomaly.
All
You're
right.
throwing you're throwing a lot of big words at me, Lady F. And I don't know. I don't really understand what they mean,
Mhm.
so I'm gonna take them with disrespect.
Okay.
To sum
Okay.
up and
You
catch
do
I want
that.
to
everybody
fight.
up,
Do that.
if your name is Nick and you're on the panel or in the chat and you're lost, she said we've solved gravity, which is like the biggest question mark for science moving forward kind of thing. If you've seen Interstellar, you understand this concept because they honest to God build off this concept. This gravity
The
is the
most
key to so
important
much stuff.
physicists are
Yeah, like
gravitational
we
physicists.
don't know what gravity is. All we know is when we do this, that happens. That's
But
all we know about gravity. But
and
if you
it's
learn
not
about
constant.
gravity,
It's not
okay,
constant,
No,
and it can be changed. And the equals mc squared can be manipulated where certain things aren't constant that you thought would be constant, like gravity. And if that can be manipulated, then you will see things like these levitational tic tacs flopping through the air in the way that you would not expect, or we have seen in traditional.
there's like a video of this dude back in God, I think it's like the 1950s in Germany or Europe or something. He's just on a little platform. It looks like he's standing at a podium that you would preach behind, but it's a good 15 feet off the ground, and he's like moving around in a field, like testing out his little gravity machine. Like there's people that have I don't know if he was using some kind of magnets or something, but there's people that have dabbled with stuff. And a lot of times, if you're a good enough researcher, which I'm definitely not, you can dive into the patents and find good hints to go down rabbit holes and try to find stuff and stuff like that. Because
And
for
so
whatever
the
reason,
idea
even
is
when people try to bury ideas, a lot of the times the patents are still listed because the patents got listed before the discovery that they bury got made, kind of thing. And it's not
sometimes
the case
it
across the board,
depends.
just sometimes.
It
Yeah.
depends on who owns the patent. And
Mhm.
and the thing is that the Edward Witten is this great kind of look at me over here. This is not really happening because he's almost like a fall for his dad. He went into string theory, and since string theory is hit, not a goddamn physical thing has actually occurred in a physics lab. Nothing has progressed in physics. It's all
that's
theoretical.
not true.
Quantum.
That's
Yeah,
not
that's
true. That's not true.
Well, in
Then
that
talk to
field,
me.
You can
What-
go to Jefferson Labs. You can check out Jefferson Labs right now online. Particle Physics Laboratory right here with the Hadron Collider.
The
They just
Hadron
made 4
Collider,
discoveries there.
because particle physics is not new. That's since the 50s we've known this.
Right, but we can't.
We haven't
use
had the
that stuff
technology
in
to
string
build
theory.
colliders until now.
Okay, so
But this is
first off,
information that's
physics doesn't-
existed.
Hold on, physics doesn't build anything. That's material sciences.
Okay, so material sciences has created what physics established, but this information and these things that you're seeing, it's not new. It's not
Well,
new.
yes, it is true because, like DARPA, we know
The
for a
material
fact.
science bit is new.
Hold on now.
Not the
You
concepts.
said your part. DARPA is automatically 20 years ahead of any technologies that we have currently running. They have the patents and
And
everything. We know
I'm
that
saying that they
it's not
probably
very,
have access to
but you can't do
physics that are
anything.
gravitational that
But I
But
think
you
the
can't
the
fluid.
point that's
anything
being
with
talked
physics.
past here, Lady F, is you have theoretical physics until material science catches up to it, and every year we're seeing new material science doing theoretical physics material for the first time, like discovering the Higgs boson particle. That's taking theoretical and making it material. Just like right now, string theory is theoretical until it's material. So there you're seeing new physics. There's more theories coming out all the time. I went down the
And
rabbit
I'm
hole
saying those are
of the
Legos
quantum tunneling.
compared
Have
to
you gone down
massive
have you gone
bricks.
down the rabbit hole of quantum tunneling yet? Like that's
Yeah, but dude, like so there's only so much you can do with quantum physics. And I'm saying that
it's really
has been a
limitless
rabbit
actually.
hole towards really a lot of nothing as
I think
compared
one thing
to
that's changed the way that physics is done is the advancement in computers. Because where, like people back in the day, they
it's
only
not
had
new
the option
technology.
of
It's
going
not
out and
new
putting their hands
concepts.
on
Sorry.
something and making something and doing something. Now they can sit there with solid data that we know to be as true as possible, and you can implement it into programs and stuff and run stuff. So they're really trying to discover stuff more theoretically, because you can take what you know and build off that with a computer model and do things that you don't have access to. Like you don't have access to all these forces and all these
I get it, I
energies,
get it.
but
And
you can
all I'm saying is
quantify them and you can
I'm positing what if there are more powerful principles of physics that we actually do know the answers to and can overcome some of these variables, and that would necessarily explain why certain entities have access to technologies that we identify as
Well, I would
foreign.
100% agree with you. And I think that's always been the case, and it's never not been the case. You don't have to look any farther than the SR-71 Blackbird or the stealth bomber that was
Sure,
around and
but
operational for decades
while I
before
say
the
at the same
public was told
time,
about it. But
also saying at the same time,
normal.
if we were aliens, or if aliens had the technology to reach this Earth, why in God's good name would they fuck with a bunch of idiots like us? Because we are destructive.
The
We'll throw a
same
nuke
way,
at them.
the same
The only
reason why
reason why
a
they care about
child will
us.
take a stick and poke at an anthill.
The same reason
Okay,
if
so
we had
listen,
access
the
and the
reason why they
capability to
care about
get to
us.
another world, do you believe that we would just ignore it? Do you think
The
we would
reason
just ignore
why,
it?
if there's any reason why they would that we matter to them, is because we scare the fuck out of them with the nuclear fission access and information that we have.
I would
Nah.
think if something could travel across space, that
Chris,
the idea and concept behind nuclear fusion and all that would be a
it's
relatively
right. It's true.
would be an
That it has to
elementary
land on that.
concept. Yeah, it would be an elementary concept to
But
them.
it's like us discovering the fire, and they're like, "Oh shit, these motherfuckers have fire now." Oh shit,
I think this there's a
this is
bunch
not
of
a
theories
fight. This is a healthy
there,
debate
there's
about
a
things we
bunch
don't
of
know.
there's a bunch of cool theories on why anything that lives off this planet would be interested in this planet. I think the nuclear one is. I think that's a joke, because just the timing of people like getting popular with aliens, like timed around that time. It's splitting an atom is, like Joe said, an elementary concept.
The first
That
time we
is
had like
ridiculously
sightings
elementary.
was in the
But the whole
50s
thing of like
when the atom bomb was created.
us being their experiment, not
We're
like
not
on
an
a table kind of
experiment.
thing, like not like on a table, but like the whole them seeding the planet, them genetically messing with organisms elsewhere. We genetically mess with stuff on this planet.
Well, I know.
There's goddamn spider goats, Lady
It's
Fantastic.
called Monsanto.
Spider goats. No, there's spider goats. There's goats that literally produce silk out their udders. There are spider goats. That's a real thing.
Okay.
And
But anyways,
so the
like
fact that we
this
do
is not
that
a fight,
here,
because when we
I don't
end
know.
this, we're still going to be buddies afterwards. We're
I'm
going
not
to talk
talking about
shit.
a fight. I don't know what I'm talking about. But so like the idea, like if an alien species came down and like observed, tinkered, did stuff like that, that's probably, in my opinion, the most probable reason they would be interested. The whole observe and report. What happens if I do this? What happens if I do that?
People do
Kind of
that,
thing.
bro.
Huh?
People do that.
That's what I'm
Humans
saying.
do.
So why wouldn't anything else do that? It's a learning experience.
Because we're probably so like it's like a petting zoo. Like could be a petting zoo for another. Like you go and you look at it and you're like, whoa, that's fucking crazy that they live life that way. But don't get near it. It's like that. We'd be a fucking pet. We're jokes, man. And to have
I
the
just
hubris
wanna
to think
say-
that we are the greatest thing that ever it's created in an infinitely expanding universe. Oh, that's folly. It's folly to
But
have that level of hubris.
but you guys are also assuming that these
I wouldn't
aliens
say
have.
it's hubris.
Yeah, you guys also.
I don't know, man. Idiots,
You're,
I guess.
you're also thinking that
Pride,
these aliens have human
sense of
tendencies.
self.
What is it, Nick?
You know?
You guys also think that these aliens have human tendencies and ways of thinking.
And that's
Yeah.
not
Who knows
true.
what they-
So
Yeah.
the
Maybe
one
he's thinking
thing,
something else different.
whenever alien conversation comes up, I like to get into it. And the one thing that always lurks in the back of my mind is that Professor Hawking said, if there is alien life, chances are they will not be friendly. And if you look at
Or
alien
they're not going
encounters,
to engage. They're not going to either. They're not be friendly, or they're not going to
Yes.
engage.
yeah,
Why the fuck
and
would
the
you?
thing a lot of people have when they discuss aliens and the possibility and all that is they can't remove that one human trait that we all have, and that is ego. And if they're traveling here again, nuclear weapons are a 1960s technology. Like,
Boys.
it's nothing. If they're traveling here, the chances are that man's solution is nuclear weapons and some sort of defense. If they were not to be friendly, would be nothing. It'd be like it's like shooting a BB gun walking into a gunfight. It's
Just have
nothing.
glasses of water in every room, and we'll be fine.
Yeah.
But the other thing is when you
Sounds
when you
legit.
hear stories about alien encounters, people go to do something and they can't. Like they're stuck or frozen in place. This seems to be a constant. Again, right there, everyone that remove the human ego. That is an alarm bell. Like apparently all the aliens are doing are just looking in your general direction, and you've A, lost time, B, can't move, and 3, forgotten almost everything that's happened in that amount of time.
D, your butt hurts.
Yeah, it's
Humans
yeah,
are a species
it's-
that their butt hurt. I would say
the
we're a
one
butt
thing
hurt
I kind of
species.
look at us to the
Different kind of butt
idea of an advanced
Different.
race that would visit our
But
planet
existentially
is the
butt
same
hurt.
way when a dog brings his master a newspaper. He knows what he's doing, but when you open that newspaper to read it, that dog has no idea what you're doing. And I'm kind of thinking we're still at that level between the two. If they have craft that can stop in the middle of air and turn around and take off
And I'm
at
saying,
a
I
speed that
think
the human
we
eye can
have
barely
crap.
keep up with, hello,
I
like
think we have crap, and we're not
Like-
sharing information with the general populace. But I don't know that, but I think that, and it's okay to
So,
think that. But
let me-
to say it's
let me-
truth, no.
I'll go ahead and say that you're 100% correct, because a good example of it is we know we can look it up right now, the shielding that we use on our B-2 bombers, right? The particular rayon paint that's used on it. We knew that there was stuff that could bounce radars off for years. We knew we had airplanes that did it, but we didn't know how it worked in the general public until that information was released. But
You said that's
I
like
mean,
machines
yeah,
technology,
but check it out.
systems,
Hold on.
and machines
Let me
technology.
finish the thought. So let's say we did have the technology and we explained it to the public. Hey, we got this paint that can repair radars, and you go into the specifics of it. How many people are really going to understand what somebody's saying? I mean, if you have nothing to say, or at least be able to communicate in a way that can be received, you're not saying anything. Does that make
Well,
sense?
I think even you,
I've
you
been
just
looking
making
for
that
that radar
disclosure
reflective
is
paint though,
good.
because I wanted to put it on my car, Joe. I mean, come on.
Maybe, but you can't.
You know what I'm saying? Like, why
find
would
it.
I need it?
Yeah,
At
you
least
can't
my
speed
license
all
plate
you
want,
stuff. You got to heat
Yeah,
up the
because
metal. Like
this
is what is on
information
there.
was obtained on this. Usually, this information is obtained by funding from the government, which is our tax money. So why would we
I know
not
government
have a
money.
right? Yeah, to access certain information. Now, I understand, Joe, that there are technologies and certain information we will not and cannot disclose because
Right.
it will, fuck up our security or something. And perhaps this is one of those things. I don't know, but I think that we are further in actually having developed physical technology and capabilities to do some things that have to do with gravity that maybe we've not been the most open about.
There's a lot of cool examples where, like, I say cool, but like, look at the guy who made the hydro-powered engine, who went to go meet with the investors after he made it, and he died right there at the table. Like, and his literal last words were, "They poisoned me," and his patent got yoked up and stuff.
Yeah,
Like, you
so
can
I'm
see
going to go ahead and
examples
say
of
this
stuff
about
like that all
hydrogen
over.
cars because it always pops up in these things. You do not want to drive around in a hydrogen car.
It's like a bomb.
Well, I didn't say you wanted to or not. I'm just saying, like,
Why would you want that? You'll
Yeah.
die.
Congratulations for making the thing. It's really
You
not
have a
that
bomb
hard.
now.
The car burn off of hydrogen.
It's a weapon of terrorism at that point.
But I'm going to tell you right now, the slightest bump, something gets knocked over, you're dead. You just made a bomb.
Well, head-on collision, you're going to be hurting a lot of innocent people that are just having to live in that around that intersection.
Let's go hunting with the hydrogen vehicle. No, so there's a guy, a professor at my old university had a BMW, old school BMW, converted the engine to run off corn oil. Okay, well, if we can do that, then we should fucking have, because you know what? Electric vehicles, they're not good for the environment. They have fucking they have rare earth metals. You just strip your earth of everything. EVs are not where the future is. I'm just saying.
Not only that, when you plug in an EV into your home, it's actually two homes all of a sudden appearing on the grid. It's incredibly difficult.
So y'all laughed it off like it was a joke, but there's multiple hydrogen powered cars being sold on the market. 2 bigger ones, one from Toyota. Even they're not driving around in fucking bombs.
Yeah, yes, they are.
They're driving around in a hydrogen bomb.
They're liabilities. They're just very big liabilities. Because it's fine, maybe running on the road, but what happens when it gets smashed
Honda
by?
and Toyota are going to drive around and sell huge insurance liabilities. I mean,
yeah, they would because they don't care about it.
It's the Toyota boom. The Toyota boom.
Just make money, right?
China doesn't give a fuck about us. Let's just put that out there right now.
Well, no company gives a fuck about you, Lady Fantastic. They give a fuck about money, and if you get hurt, that hurts their wallet. They don't give a fuck about you or me. It's the money.
As someone that worked for Toyota for 12 years, they do care about you a little bit.
Yeah, because you
to the extent that they're hold legally liable.
Because they hope that you buy your second Toyota, and then third.
Yeah, that's why the cars and stuff don't last. They're like, I need the driver to survive, but I don't need the car to survive much longer. I need him to get a new car.
But that's the automobile industry, though. That's not.
Remember in iRobot when he pulls out his motorcycle out of the storage? He goes, "Oh my god, does this run on gasoline? Gasoline explodes."
No, gasoline does not explode. It catches fire.
Okay, I gotta head out, guys. I gotta go meet with somebody real quick. But it was good talk.
On the Romania too?
Yeah, let's keep it up. And Nikki, I'm sorry I offended you. All right, you guys, take care.
Offended me.
Nick is easily offended. That's where all the gray comes from. What is going on, Randy? Legal burning is in the chat.
Morning, legally burning.
Chris, what's new with you, man?
Next step in my career has happened in the last few days, so that's good. Back to work after getting packaged out from where I was.
How's your schedule look?
So thankfully, I was blessed with multiple offers from different places. I decided to go with one that is operating on a 4-10 schedule. So I'm working 4 days a week, 10 hours a day. So basically a long weekend every weekend.
Nice.
So yeah, it's a.
What are you doing?
I'm supervising a shift. The company is based out of Georgia, Cleaver Brooks. They manufacture high-end water boilers. So basically, when new hospitals across the continent, high schools, I shouldn't say high schools, but schools, large condominium buildings, these construction companies, they purchase these high-end and monstrous boilers. And this place has usually about 60 days to build them and ship them across the continent. Again, the company is based out of Georgia, so 95% of the contracts that we have to build, we're shipping across the border.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you're on a
So-
schedule kind of like mine. I do 4/11s.
Okay.
I work 3 weekdays and alternating weekends. I mean, that's like the standard, like holidays and weekend. Like it becomes more than that often, but
Yeah.
that because the week splits Saturday to Sunday. So
Okay.
I'll have on a granted week I'll have Saturday or Sunday, and then 3 work days. That's why I'm always off on Tuesdays and Fridays, because once I work three days out of the week, it's already up to 33 hours, and then the weekend shift to push it over. Fridays the time for the gang to get together and sit here and bicker with each other and argue over pop culture, aliens, and whatever we want to. And Tuesdays I do a live stream, which is a new DC Day live stream where I go through all the DC stuff dropping that week, and I do a live giveaway every Tuesday for that with some new DC books. And on Sunday nights I do the show At Weeks In, where it's a spoiler-filled review show for all the books that came out and movies and shows and stuff like that. It's very pointed at actually touching on topics and stuff, where this is just a free form hangout. This is to get together with the boys and just kick it, man. Just have fun.
There's just room to kick it.
And again, as a reminder, these folks have channels as well. The Comic Vet has a channel, and Pocan Joe has a fantastic channel as well.
Love the cover. Didn't like the story.
Mike said he installed a
hoping for better.
2-ton boiler here in Denver that took over 20 people to install.
Yeah.
You can actually
Why didn't
hide
y'all
in
do
one
the
of these
prank?
boilers and get across the state, can't you?
I just pictured Mike and 19 other guys with a boiler on their shoulders walking it into a building.
There's some of the boilers that are shipping today, but I work Monday to Thursday. So there's some boilers that are being done today that actually had to avoid certain portions of the highway. The highway in Canada is known as the Trans-Canada, or in Ontario is known as the 401. This would be the interstate highways that would be across the United States that actually have to exit if there's a bridge that's too low, because these monstrous ones that are going to hospitals, they're too tall to actually fit under a bridge, even with a drop deck flatbed trailer. The big one that we're working on right now is for Veterans Affairs, Grand Junction Hospital. It's a new veterans hospital that's being built down in the southern United States. And this hospital is actually taking 3 massive water boilers. So thank you, Tyler. So yeah, that one's my passion project, because it's the United States government spending money, and every possible bell and whistle or upgrade that could be on these boilers, they went right down the list. Check, 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 check. So they went glow in the dark paint, check. Like any kind of any kind of upgrade, boom. They're spending the government's money. So good for the VA for doing that, and good for the VA for building a new hospital. Yeah, that's the big one that's going through the plant right now are these 3 monstrous, like,
God damn you, Tyler.
they're probably 15 feet high by 20 feet long, and probably 5 feet in width, each one of these units. Yeah, they're just monstrous. So I'm presuming the hospitals that these are going to be attached to are at least going to be 10 to 12 stories high. So yeah, so good on the VA.
Now, can I ask, do these places buy just one, or for sake of redundancy that they have 2?
Oh yeah, this place is actually a custom fabrication shop. So, for example, there's an elementary school that's being built in Arizona, and they're predicting they're going to have somewhere between 2 and say 5,000 kids in that particular school. So, say kindergarten up to 8. This one would have something similar to the VA, but instead of being, say, 4 to 5 feet wide or in width, it would be double that, but shorter and not necessarily as long, and just in one unit. The Grand Junction location, I'm presuming because they're going to have multiple wings, that's why it's 3 units that they're going to try and spread that water out through. And whereas the elementary school, they just need to centralize the location of the boiler, probably in the basement or on the roof, depending on what the architect wants, and then it would be centralized there. But yeah, Nick, they're totally customary. We don't have we're building stuff that's not monsters as well, but they're still going to, townhouse communities. So a little townhouse community that would be featuring, say, 25 homes, but there's things inside that little community that needs water, i.e., a pool or services like a private gym, that kind of thing. That's what a smaller boiler would be ordered for. Here I am promoting a company that I've only worked for less than 2 weeks.
I was about to say they hired the right guy who knows all this stuff.
No, it's I'm hoping to retire out of this place. It's basically what I said during the interview. It's what I've said through every place. I asked everyone that was on the other side of the interview table, how long have you worked for the company for? This place said, I've been here 23 years. I've been here 17 years. To me, that's all music to my ears. So that these people are not a part of that rotating door of companies every 2 to 3 years. I'm off trying to make my resume look sexy and stuff like that. So a company that's been established since around the 50s in this location in Ontario, and the fact that the parent company in the United States has been around forever and that it has multiple locations across the continent was all check marks going down that list for me.
Ahsoka shows up to Avery Brooks. The Republic doesn't need boilers this size. Lightsaber ignites.
It's true.
Oh man, that's funny.
It wasn't Avery Brooks. Avery Brooks, the guy who played Spencer for Hire's cohort.
He wasn't the dad or the uncle in Fresh Prince, was he?
No, that's Uncle Phil.
But what was that actor's name? I know that. But what was that actor's name?
Jeffrey.
No, that was Shredder himself. His last name is Phil. I mean Avery. Philip Banks was
James
played
Avery?
by James Avery.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he was Shredder, right, in the TMNT cartoon.
Okay.
Avery Brooks.
Oh, he must be. Yeah, so like for my birthday, my pops got me some books, and my stepmom Michelle got me 2 Godzilla shirts. She got this one and the other one. Because Finn's not here, so I could talk about this. But he wants a Godzilla themed birthday party, so we've been working on getting stuff. And my wife is one of those we're gonna get T-shirts made for the birthday party, so everyone knows we're his parents kind of people. It's just something fun that moms like to do these days. But I got lucky because my stepmom got me this, and she got me another one. And my wife's favorite artist is Van Gogh. And, let me see. Let me grab this other one. And her favorite painting ever, as with a lot of people, is Starry Night. And look at this. This is awesome. So I'm just going to let her rock. That is amazing. That is dope.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let her rock that one for his birthday. And I'll rock this. And Finn doesn't know it, but we already got this badass Godzilla shirt for him and stuff. Here's one of his little book bags. He's just a massive fan, dude. He loves Godzilla.
We should build his own little cardboard city and let him run through it.
No, and that's exactly what we talked about doing, just because I can get a hold of boxes pretty easy, and it wouldn't be nothing just to put up kids to run through stuff. Just stand up some cardboard boxes with windows painted on them, just for them to have just to run and just knock over and stand up and knock over. I mean, it sounds so simple, but it's that kind of stuff that kids actually like. It's the old adage, you want a kid to have fun, buy him a big toy, you take it out of the box and throw the box in the floor.
Right. Or you give Joe a few hours, have him make a mouth applicable fire.
Burned down Mark's house.
We just know that springs, fire, and probably gasoline are involved if Pokemon's involved.
Yeah. You can make it a learning lesson of how gas doesn't explode, it ignites. There we go. We'll bring it.
I'm glad you brought that up. So, yeah, talking full circle. I've been catching these feeds. I want to know if y'all are catching them. They're talking about like how certain cars are burning a certain way in Hawaii because of the fires or whatever, and how the glass and aluminum's melting, right? And nobody, but like the asphalt around it's not melting. Has anybody else seen this before?
Yeah, I saw those clips, but the whole car is not melting. Just certain things in the car get melted.
Right, because the
Yep.
gas tank ignites and it's hotter and the rubber separate. Right, I've been stitching this stuff. Like it's the gas tank. It's the gas tank. You guys are no.
Well, it's not even just that. Like a car's not made out of one type of metal. Not all metals melt at the same heat. And if
You
you
got
look, you
it.
see like it almost looks like lead because like I know a lot of y'all did this like the old little wooden stock cars, you know, that you race and you have to carve out the bottom and you get the torch and the lead and because they all have to be at a certain weight to race them on the track.
Yeah.
So like that's what it looks like to me. The melted metal just looks like almost like lead. I know it's not lead exactly, but
It's aluminum in
different
most
metals
cases.
melt at different temperatures.
And also, they always talk about it takes what is it? A famous one they've been saying. It's just bad science has been going around. But somebody tried to convince like their viewers that aluminum only melts at about 2,000 degrees, and I'm sitting here like,
What?
I can take a propane torch at under 1,000 and melt aluminum. Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, oh my god, it's so bad. And the whole everything blue's not catching on fire. But then you look at the things that are blue, and it's like they're nowhere near the fire break anyway. It's like it's just so bad right now. Oh my
Just
god!
to make sure we all keep ourselves humble, my wife just poked her head in the door, holding a bag of kettle cooked chips to tell me that me and my friends are weird.
That's fair.
That's what I told her. I said, "Oh yeah, yeah."
More than fair.
Joe said, "That's fair."
Yeah, Carl's right.
And we're behaving ourselves because we're on camera. So
Yeah.
Yeah, you should see us off camera.
then
The black hats are coming. Blue's not
We're like
burning.
pinballs inside a Plinko drop.
Again, to our alien overlords, I appreciate, love, and respect you and all your beloveds.
to shift it to a scary reality about that, Joe. Like I think that there's definitely some anomalous stuff to talk about with that whole situation, and I feel like a lot of the stuff that's catching steam is taking away from a lot of the more serious stuff, like the number of missing people.
Yeah, oh yeah, I definitely agree there. I do not believe a direct energy weapon that the U.S. owns was shooting lasers down at it, though.
Which that is on the U.S. patent board, by the way. That does exist. That's not a myth.
Well, no, it does, but it doesn't produce the fire. Like, so y'all watched me build a laser, so like I know
your laser is not comparable. To be fair, you can go watch
the
videos
laser
of retrofitting planes.
do that. The power source for it would be like you would see it in space floating around at night. Like you would need that much energy to shoot.
No, you have to be aware of this that DEVs are on the front of planes. They're retrofitted and they cost a bunch of money. You can watch videos on YouTube.
Yeah, I don't need to watch a video. I was there when the technology came out.
It's not secret knowledge that these things are on planes.
But the thing is that they don't catch things on fire. That is used to destroy electronic equipment and short it. So to cause a fire with that, no, that's not how that works.
Yeah, that size would be insane. But that goes into the whole thing of like what's being made that we're not privy to yet. I don't pretend to know one way or another, but I'm just pointing out the things that we do know. Like,
well, you do know, like the average person actually knows more about electricity than they actually realize they know. Like you can look at something, right, and you can be like, this probably either takes a AA battery or a AAA battery. Like you could just look at something and determine that, right? Now take that same amount of knowledge. Imagine shooting something from space or high up in the air, right? And then instantly setting something on fire or over a period of time, right? It's a directional beam. How large would that battery have to be?
If they're using a battery.
Okay, what else? I mean, solar panels, that would take forever to charge. I mean, you kind of see what, like, you know more about electricity than you actually realize. If you actually look at what
the
things.
I don't pretend to know about, like, available power sources outside of, like, just basic batteries and stuff. Like, power sources are, like, definitely a big deal inside of, like, discovery arenas and stuff like that, and what you can do with it and like that. Like fuel is always a problem. You know, power sources are always a problem. So whoever holds like the top of the line one, that's like having the big stick. You know what I mean? That's not something that I don't feel like, because I don't trust the government anywhere. Never have, never will, kind of thing. So I don't believe for one second whoever holds the best power source is giving that up. Because once you make that public knowledge, everyone has it. Until there's a bigger one, a better one, you won't know about what's available.
What would you like? I get what people are saying, and I can agree with it to a degree, right?
Yeah,
but it's like,
I mean, I'm not tinfoil hat about it. I'm just like that common knowledge.
Yeah,
obviously, they have a better power source than what we're aware of.
Right,
There's something out there.
What would there be to gain, right? So think about this, right? And this is how I generally face these things. When you sit there and say they made this one thing to do this one thing, right? And they got to keep it secret, right? I don't care if it's levitation, direct energy weapon, whatever the case may be. And they got to keep it secret, but it can only do this one thing, right? What is the actual benefit of that item then, other than that one thing? People don't build things for one purpose or one type of use.
False.
Like what?
Bomb.
No, there's a lot of reasons to use a bomb.
Not when they built it.
No. You can use it for pouring applications. You can use it for hurting people, taking down barriers. A bomb has a very
Well, I mean, if you want to get like that vague, like a bomb has one purpose and that's to blow up. But if you want to get to like the point of what's your purpose of blowing something up, that's taking a step back from the purpose. And if you can do that with anything, though, you know, you can
exactly right, except for these high energy or anti-gravity machines, they don't fall under that what you just said.
Anti-gravity machine, I mean, that sounds wild, but that has like unlimited applications,
right? Unlimited, but yet the government keeps it secret for one purpose and one purpose only. That's weird, right?
I mean, like, common thought for me, like my common thought is like, you know, they're using it for one thing and they're keeping it a secret to see what else they can make it applicable to. You know what I'm saying? Like that like you don't keep something a secret that no one can have that one thing. You're like, what if, like, I always go back to The Men Who Stare at Goats. Do you remember that movie? It touches on like General Hopgood, and it touches on like the psi research that the government was doing in the late 60s and 70s.
Right.
And it's a comical movie, and they're like there's a scene when they're talking to Hopgood about starting the psi research program, and they bring it to me like, why would we do psi research? Well, the Russians are doing psi research. Well, why are they doing it? Because they think we're doing it. Oh, so should we do it? I guess so. You know, like sure. Wondering what if someone else cracks a code? What if someone else figures something out that it's not even on our radar yet? There's something to be had with this, but we don't know what to be had with it. So we got to play with it till we know which way to work. You know, like there's that base level, purpose versus application. Yeah,
right.
There's always that thing, and you know that's how any governing body works. Like, what if they do it first? Like, go back to the moon landing, the race for space, and all that stuff. Like, why? Who cares who's first? Well, it's for morale. It's for this. Well, really, I'm sure the government's like, well, what if they get up there and it's X, Y, and Z, and they set up shop up there, and then they have it and we don't? Like, that's how people are, you know?
Well, yeah, definitely. Ego. But I still believe, like, so I've worked with government agencies, both privately and my job today, right? And there's no doubt about it. That even goes inside of government agencies. They want to beat the other person.
Yeah, government FOMO. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Even in government agencies.
That's pretty good.
I get pulled into that stuff all the time. It's great because I play both sides of the fence.
Do it.
But again, even working with scientists and stuff like that, the concept of making something and keeping it secret, just to keep it secret because somebody else may get a hold of it, doesn't really the device or whatever you want to make, right? It doesn't go anywhere. It's stagnant because the same eyes are looking at it.
I completely disagree because you know science is so compartmentalized now. Just say you have example and you're keeping it a secret. You have example and you're using it for this one thing, but then you give example to this room over here and see what they can do with it. Y'all don't tell anyone, and I'm watching. We're overseeing your process and your reach of it. And we're going to give it to this room too. Now 3 people have eyes on it and are seeing separately what can be done with. That's how this shit works. It really is.
So yes and no at the same time, right? Yeah. So the way it generally works when you compartmentalize something is that you'll get a piece like, hey, I need you to make a circuit chip that can do X, Y, and Z. And then you go to the other agency and you're like, hey, I need a circuit board, right? That can have the capabilities of XYZ. So I know what XYZ is, I just don't know what the chip looks like or how it's definitively going into process.
Mhm.
All the while, what did chips and circuit boards go to? A computer, right? So some other guy's building the computer, material scientist is there. Like I've been part of these talks before within the government.
I'm saying that's what I'm saying, but like trying to reduce it down to like, oh, they're keeping it a secret now. It can never do anything. No, because it's not just like one person on the secret. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be like, oh, the whole world is keeping this secret from. No, like people do it in comic books, like bringing it into the hobby. Like someone finds like, oh, I just found a gold mine cellar. I found this place that no one else is shopping at. Look at these books. I'm not going to tell anyone where I'm getting them. There's still people that go there, but you're not spreading the awareness. You're not bringing other people. I mean, it's classic human nature 101.
Nine volt, Tyler. 9 volt.
9 volt.
There's more power in the 9 volt.
They use the D. You remember the D? You put like 4 of them bitches in a flashlight. It weighs 5 pounds.
I remember a boombox taking 9D batteries. I had to huff that thing around.
That's why people put them on their shoulders. It wasn't to look cool.
You're lucky if you get one side of that cassette tape to play before it slowly starts to drag.
Yeah.
Those were horrible days.
And then they came out with rechargeable batteries to try and
they
sell you on that. Right? They didn't work. They didn't work.
After 3 charges, done.
They may have been good for 3 or 4 charges, and that was it.
No,
yeah, I think we're at a place like technologically where an advancement in a power cell will absolutely revolutionize everything about our daily life.
And I think around the planet, like I agree.
Yeah,
around
like
the planet.
100%. And something like that in today's world, until people know how to completely market it and completely profit off of it and try to keep as much as that in their own pocket versus it going out, it will not be released. You don't have the cannabis industry is a prime example of it. The government can't figure out how they would want to regulate, tax, and control it, so they don't legalize it federally.
Your government.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so I think another
because there are other governments around the planet that have figured it out.
Yeah, but that's just how the world has proven itself to be time and time again. And of course, there's examples against the rules, examples for that, and everything.
You're correct.
But that's just in my mind. That's just so common sense that if anybody in a position to do that has that opportunity, that's the route they're going to take.
I think we're way too far ahead in our technology. I actually make an opposite argument. I think we need to slow down a little bit, actually.
I don't disagree with that at all.
Right now, everybody has a technological device of some sort that they don't fully understand. They just know how that they can do things with. It's like it's like giving a fishing pole to a monkey, right? It can kind of use it and do things with it, but it doesn't really understand what it's doing. And
yeah, you know how to call people and text people, but you have no clue the true capability of this device.
Yeah. They get mad when it doesn't work instantaneously, not understanding that the signal's going to freaking space and coming back down. It's like, that takes time.
Tyler said, remember when Samsung came out with the Molotov Cocktail X and you couldn't take that on the phone on the plane?
There.
Yeah, our technology has outran itself in some areas. That's why, like, I think, like, the power source, like, because you look at, like, the Tesla cars, those batteries are obsolete from the time they started selling those cars.
Yeah.
That was not something that was ready to market, in my opinion, when your battery cell is, like, it's literally toxic waste and you have nowhere to put it. Like, you can't mass produce that. That's not a solution. That's like a stepping stone towards something, but I don't know. I still think nuclear energy where we're at right now is just the best we got, hands down.
I wish we weren't so scared of the word nuclear because it would, that would be something.
Yo, Vogel. Are y'all familiar with Vogel?
The thing is, just to touch on what Joe was saying, Mark, sorry,
that's
ahead. Because the generation before ours, I'm presuming the 4 of us are Generation X. Mark might be the youngest, but the generation before us brainwashed us into thinking that the word nuclear is bad because the only reference that they had was an apocalyptic event surrounding that word, whereas now it is basically a clean type of energy. But everyone is so scared because of the Hollywood films and the generation before us, making it think that it's all completely negative. When
Well,
it's not
remember how big of a
necessarily.
deal?
Chris,
Remember
you
how
have the
big of a
human
deal the day
element,
after
like,
was?
Mhm.
you have like Chernobyl, you have 3 Mile Island,
Right.
and it's not just like the
You're
the
absolutely
meltdown
right, but those
events, you know,
are
you
those
have,
are events as old as what the four of us are.
yeah, that's
Well,
what I'm saying. But you
Hiroshima is
also have, it's not
relatively
necessarily
new.
just a meltdown event. Like people these days that might be afraid of it, they look back at those events and look at how they were handled and how the government
Right.
treated them and how like it
Right.
was like they completely
Right.
lied and quieted and didn't evacuate people and
Yeah.
BS and everything. It's
Right.
wild.
But those were first time events as well, right? Like,
yeah,
again, we're going
you
back
can't have a lot
60s,
of it.
70s, old men in those times not having any idea what the hell they were doing and relying on the scientific community. And when the scientific community would give them a response of how to deal with it, they ignored it all. And again, that's the ego of man, especially the ego of government officials who are elected that don't necessarily have the education that those that they're trying to government actually have. But yeah,
I was gonna say, but
I'm with Joe. The word nuclear needs to
yeah,
be cleaned up a little bit.
Vogel just finally got one of these new reactors online that they've been working on for a long time. And it blew my mind looking at these modern reactors. They got like 2 of them, right? And like you think nuclear reactor, you think of the big smokestack, you know, the concrete tower. They're not that. They look like closed in. They almost look like submersibles, like standing vertically. I'm like, dude, this is absolutely insanely cool. And one thing that they did, because Vogel's like right up the road, you know what I mean? Like we have a lot of people in Augusta that work at Vogel. A lot of people come here for Vogel and stuff. But one thing that was cool that they did is they videotaped years, and they've time lapsed it so you can watch this forest of trees that's like on their property, you know, come down, like dirt it out, and they just start building it, and it's just one of the most fascinating things I've seen. And they were doing drone stuff while people were like putting in like all kinds of stuff. It's just ridiculously cool, ridiculously cool. Cold fusion should be the next thing. Now we know where Joe's investments are.
Now we're talking clean. Yeah.
What about fission? What about moving? That is nuclear. What about, because fission is nuclear and fusion is
Right.
clap.
Basically explosion.
Yeah, that's where we're just kind of, that's like where you get into the particle colliders and stuff and start seeing what we can do there. You remember how everybody was tripping about the large hadron collider or whatever that was supposed to be built in the US. That was supposed to be a huge project for us, but those same people that were like, if you turn that nuclear reactor on, you could create a black hole and kill us all. They're saying the same shit with the collider, which, you know, it's a possibility.
Which is
they
weird
ran the numbers.
because we have 2 of them here in the United States. We've had them
Yeah,
here.
just not on that level, not like a mile and a half in circumference.
But
that thing's huge,
still,
bro. The one at CERN is huge.
Yeah, but I mean, again, people that make these arguments, you know, this is part of my proof that technology is getting ahead of us because people get information really quick, and instead of deciphering it, they get a feed real quick, and then they may automatically hate something because woo-woo people out there talking about the devil's going to come to a black hole.
Right, and then it's just you know, fear mongering with people that don't necessarily have all the information that they should.
It's just like, Jesus Christ. I don't know.
This is why the aliens don't want to come here. God damn it!
Again,
man's ego gets in the way of everything.
Yeah, I do like that theory of intervention in this planet is what caused the rapid evolution of the species. That's a fun theory to look at and stuff. And they and I think I was thinking about that a lot because I'm going deep into the Miller World books, like going through reading all of the Miller World stuff. And I read Jupiter's Legacy, and I don't know how many people read that or even watched the show, but you know, these individuals are called to this island, and they go there and they find extraterrestrial stuff there that bestows these powers on them. If you read the book, what is revealed to you is this extraterrestrial race. This is the second time they've come here to augment evolution. They came originally, which gave us Homo sapien, and they're coming back now years later to boost it again. And that's where the superpowers get introduced these characters is them augmenting us again. Like, what a cool concept, taking a fun sci-fi theory and then just adding one more level and attaching it to capes. Like that was so fun. Austin, that's a good one. CERN and the Hadron Collider are responsible for the Mandela effect. Luke, I am your father, never said.
Yeah, there's a whole nother thing too, like the Richard Simmons guy, right? When you think of him in your head, he's always wearing a sweatband.
Never said it.
Yeah,
He's
sweatband.
never worn a sweatband.
Never?
Never worn a sweatband.
Oh my god.
This is true.
Yeah,
And
Luke,
the
I am
Monopoly
your
Man
father,
never has a
never
monocle.
Monocle.
Yeah.
There was another one that threw me off. I swear to God.
So wait, Vader never says, "Luke, I am your father."
Never says it.
Nope.
What's the line?
It's something like so like not iconic sounding. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's
I
very
thought it was
vague.
something along the lines of Obi-Wan didn't tell you the truth.
But it's
I
like
am
said
your
it. I
father.
think it was said in like a conversational way, like he's
Right.
like, "But I am your father," though, like or something. He never says, "Luke, I am your father." The words in order, "I am your father," were not the order that they were said in the movie. Aggressive is here. Aggressive.
I'm gonna Google
Give
this,
us the
man.
line.
This is hurting my brain. Like that conspiracy theory that
That's
Captain
the
Smith
biggest
actually
one for me
piloted the
because
Titanic into the iceberg. That hurts my brain.
Yep. There was one yesterday.
regular and proper use of a tinfoil hat. None of these things can get you. Yeah, it's called the Mandela effect because wasn't it like put out like people thought, no, there it is. No, I am your father. Like,
Yeah, I am your father.
Yeah, Luke isn't in it.
Yeah.
No, I am your father.
Yeah. The most misquoted movie line of all time.
Mhm.
Luke, I am your father.
It's crazy.
First thing
isn't
that shows up.
it? Wild. I blamed the Vader thing on Chris Farley from Tommy Boy.
It could be. Luke.
Yeah, there it is. People thought Mandela died in jail. Yep.
Yeah, I thought I remembered that too when I was a kid. I thought we learned that in school, but yeah, he did.
Yep, the Monopoly Man and his monocle.
Yeah, that's one that
There's one with Mr. Peanut.
Because
as
even
well,
Ace
I believe.
Ventura and Ace Ventura 2, like he
Yeah,
does, he puts the monocle on and do not pass go, do not collect $200, and you have the monocle.
Jiffy was another one that threw me off. There's no such thing as Jiffy peanut butter. It's always been just Jif.
Yeah.
Jif.
Yeah.
There's no Cheez-Its. There's no Z at the end.
Right? That one threw me off too. There was something with Kit Kat too, the way it was spelled or something. It was a weird one.
C-3PO had a
The
a silver
Berenstein and the
leg?
Berenstein Bears.
I think that was always just a mispronunciation.
Yeah, it's a children's book. Of course, you're not going to pronounce it right.
I think the Richard Simmons one had something to do with
Jim Carrey.
Saturday Night Live, I believe. Because whenever they would make fun of Richard Simmons or whenever there was a skit based on it, the headband was always there. And then it made his hair or his afro larger. And that's the one that so Marcus, and when that one just came out recently, I feel as a Mandela effect. I was just like, wait, what? But the Monopoly Man to me is like probably one of the most famous Mandela effects.
Mirror, mirror on the wall was not what was said.
Yeah,
Magic mirror on the wall.
Magic mirror
Yeah.
on the wall. But again,
Yeah,
I remember
I'm
seeing
not
that.
guessing. I'm not guessing these correct because I remember them correct. I've just gone through all these Mandela effect things numerous times at this point.
Scotty beat me up. That was never said. Yeah.
Hello, Clarice was never said. In Fear for the Lines.
Hello, Clarice. I don't know. Maybe that Hadron Collider did do something.
That's just rude.
Sinbad never played a genie.
That I already knew. I didn't understand why everybody was making a big deal out of that one.
I'll be 100% honest with you. I remember the Sinbad movie as a junior.
Really?
I remember that thing. I remember renting it from Blockbuster, all that, and apparently it never happened. Because it was one of
Sinbad
those,
has a
like
genie?
the Prestige and the Edward Norton movie, The Illusionist came out at the same time. Armageddon, Deep Impact. Sometimes you just have competing. I remember
Two
the
volcano
Shaquille O'Neal
ones.
Genie movie and the Sinbad Genie movie coming out around the same time. It blows my mind. It's not there.
Crazy.
Remember when Shaq was a genie?
Yeah, I remember that movie. Yeah.
I want to, yeah. It's hard to forget that one.
Yeah, that's probably my toughest one. Is that Sinbad genie? Like, was he in a commercial as a genie or something? Like I know he's even talked on. He's like, "Yo, I've never been a genie." I'm like, "This is crazy."
Yeah.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
I would just get a bunch of posters made up of him as a genie and sell them.
Kids movie in the 90s.
It's true.
See, I got the poster.
Yeah, Twister and Volcano. Yeah, Hollywood does
Many
that a
people
lot.
don't know who Sinbad is nowadays anyway.
White House down and Olympus has fallen.
It's a different world, Nick. It's a different world.
Is Goki Green practicing English in the chat? Is that what that is?
Mm-hmm.
Twister Volcano.
Yeah.
Hey, man, go
He
with
said
it.
earlier he's Japanese and so yeah, and he lives in Canada. Or I don't know if he said he's Japanese. He said he knows Japanese.
Fair enough.
So have you guys seen
Yeah,
the
Tales,
new
dude,
trailer?
I was looking at Tales from the Crypt last night. Did you know that show you cannot find on physical media? It's not on any streaming thing. They released it on DVD, but they've never like gone to re-release it. I think there's something wrong. I have to go look into it, but I think there's something mess up with the rights to it. That I think it's like split or something, and no one can just get it reproduced and put out there. So if you run across those in the wild on DVD, pick them up.
Oh yeah,
It should have been on Max though, no?
Dude, it's not on any
it's an
stream.
HBO.
You can't even go buy it on digital.
That's weird because the first movies came out on HBO. That's weird. What?
Well, you can get Bordello of Blood. You can get Night of Demons, the show, the actual show.
Oh.
I feel like there's been a lot of money's being left off the table then.
Well, speaking of that, I got an email today that they're raising the price of Hulu, the Hulu bundle.
Yeah, they thought they were. I'm canceling that.
Yeah, I canceled mine. It went from $19.99 a month to $24.99 a month.
Yeah, no.
That's a
Hulu
big
is
jump.
not available where I am.
As everybody
Original
starts
versions
raising
of
the
popular things from the Mandela Effect would probably sell well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm open up an
Yeah.
eBay store called Mandela Effect and just have posters and stuff from that.
Luke,
That
I am your
movie
father.
poster. One of the pamphlets from Mandela's funeral.
Right? If you want to get morbid.
In
like,
prison?
pictures of his headstone or something.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm out. I'm off to Romania. No.
Hello.
Mark, thanks for having me on.
All right, Chris, take it easy, bro.
Yeah. And check out the Godzilla new trailer that's coming out for Japan. Looks awesome.
Yeah, -1 came out this past week. That trailer was awesome. It came out.
See you later,
Monday.
guys.
I'm on the YouTube TV trial since Spectrum lost Disney Channel. I gotta say, it's nice. Oh, the YouTube TV. Yeah, YouTube TV is phenomenal. I love it. Unlimited DVR, so you can look up any movie you're thinking about. If it's not there, it'll show you like when in the future it'll be there, and even if it's not listed yet, you just hit the plus button and it'll record it. First time it comes on, you'll have it forever, as long as you have the service and the service is up. Monopoly game with the monocle.
Yeah. $1 billion.
I think I'm going to hop off here in just a few minutes. I'm going to go get a shower, get ready for the day. I want to try to make a stop or two before I pick Monkey up from preschool.
GSD, baby, GSD.
Well, kind of. I saw some toys that
Toys.
I'm like, man, that's from that. I want that. Like, I don't need that, but that looks like a good price. I want that. You see toys and you're like, you're a toy collector when you see toys like, God, I just need to open that. Like, I'll open it and I'll put it away or put it up and not do anything, but I need to open it.
Just open it.
I need to open it.
Well, before you jump off, have you read this yet? This is my book I'm promoting this month.
Hold on, let me make you big so that you can properly promote this book titled Coffee Bean Coffee.
Kill Your Darling. This is going to be right up there with Middle West and all those other great Scotty Young stories that we read. This is going to be. I don't want to give it away.
Is that an issue 1?
Yep, issue 1 came out this comic book day.
You mean this book?
Yes, sir. Have you read it yet?
I did.
Would you think?
In reading this, I felt twig potential. So you are correct.
Right? Yeah, twig, that whole kind of vibe with it. Yeah. Definitely.
I hadn't even heard of it till right now.
Yeah, you may want to. You would like. I assume you would like it.
All I can think about right now is like getting more Miller World books in my hand. Like I've got an itch right now. Like Paul at the LCS said, you gotta flavor you're enjoying. But yeah, I've got like Prodigy 1 and 2 on the way. I've got more volumes of Kick Ass on the way. Sharky the Bounty Hunter, King of Spies, Jupiter's Legacy 5. I've got so many orders out all over the place. Like I can't get enough right now.
Sharky was a fun read. I did enjoy that.
Are you reading Big Game?
I am not. I haven't heard of it.
Only 2 issues have come out today. That's what got me like fired up about all this. Is Big Game is currently being released. It's only going to be 5 or 6 issues. All this stuff is short, but it's him bringing all his Miller World concepts together. Like you've got to read it, Joe. I guarantee you're like this is what dreams are made out of.
Big game. I'll go check it out. I have a bunch of days. I had to take some days off, and since I didn't go to Baltimore, I've just been kind of bumming around the house, taking apart microwaves and taking the safety measures.
It's now safe for tinfoil, but you better not trust the timer.
Well, so the new project we're working on. I got to try to make some rubies. So I got all the seed material for rubies, but I need an electrical discharge. And the best thing for electrical discharge in anybody's home is a microwave. You just gotta tinker on the back end a little bit.
Yes, that's what I heard about discharge. Anytime you need
let
discharge,
me know how that works out for you, Nick, when you take his word for that. And then you'll fall into the camp that Joe said, you know more about electricity than you thought.
Well, it can't make my hair stand on end, so I'm not worried about it.
I think everybody has watched Stand By Me.
Yeah, that was a great movie. Sad movie.
Pie eating contest. One of the greatest scenes in the history of movies.
Greatest scene ever.
Well, guys, I appreciate y'all hopping on. I appreciate everyone in the chat. I'm gonna hop off here and get rocking.
I'm gonna go make bad decisions.
I too am high on life and have some randomness to accomplish. I gotta go pick Monkey up from school soon. I don't want to be rushing. Make sure y'all hit the like, subscribe, check out the merch store, support the channel, all that good stuff. Hit the join button. Channel memberships are live and they're a blast. And we'll see you on the next one. Peace.
We are Legion.